everybody.
Hello.
Waiting for 10. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to WIT's virtual open event. This is Channel 7, Science and Computing. We're kicking off our events with a panel talk from our lovely computing lecturers. I won't delay you any further. I'm going to hand over to Alan Davey, who's going to be chairing this panel session. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Olive. Hi, everyone. I'm Alan Davey. I'm the head of Department of Computing and Mathematics. So this talk today is really going to be a panel discussion and a Q&A session really between the lecturers and yourselves. So please feel free to pop in any questions you have into the chat function just under the video. And I'll be able to relay those questions to the lecturers. So just to kick off, what we'll do is we'll do a quick roundtable introduction from the lecturers we have here. So maybe what we'll do is we start from the top, my top right corner, which will be Rob, if you want to just do a quick introduction to yourself, program you lead, and I suppose what subjects you lecture.
Hi folks, my name is Rob O'Connor. I look after the BSc Honours in Applied Computing. Inside that, I teach a number of modules, introductory computer science, do some app programming, and we also look at some media stuff, audio-visual subject areas as well.
Okay, very good. Thanks very much, Rob. Sinead O'Riordan, we commit to you next.
Hi, everybody. I'm one of the course leaders on the BSc in Multimedia Applications Development. That's a level 7 program, and the BSc in Creative Computing, which is a level 8 program. I also teach in both these programs. I teach some of the creative modules from years 1 to years 4 in the area, mainly in graphic design.
Okay, very good. Thanks very much, Sinead. Sinead Walsh, we'll come to you next. You're just on mute there, Sinead.
Rookie mistake. My name is Sinead Walsh. I'm the course leader for the Bachelor of Science and Information Technology ordinary degree. I also teach on this degree, so I teach the programming, I teach some creative problem solving, I teach enterprise applications development, so I teach a lot of the modules as well. So as I said, it's a 3-year degree. So.
Okay, thanks very much, Sinead. Mary, we come to you next, Mary Ling.
Hi, my name is Mary Ling. I'm the joint course leader for years 1 and 2 of the Level 7 Software Systems Development Programme and the Level 8 Honours Software System Development Programme. I teach in the area of website development and database systems.
Okay, thanks very much, Mary. And then John Shepherd will come to you then last.
My name's John Shepherd. I'm the course leader for the BSc Honours in Computer Forensics and Security, and I teach modules in the area of computer forensics and the area of cybersecurity.
Okay, thanks very much, John. Thank you. So maybe what we'll do now is we'll just have an open discussion. There's a few questions that we've received in from the chat. So again, please feel free to ask further questions on that. So maybe what we'll do is we'll just kick off with a few questions first. So the first one we have in there is, I suppose, why would someone choose computer science at WIT? So maybe I'll come to Rob first, just to give maybe your thoughts on that.
I suppose the first question is, why would you choose computer science? That's the first question. There's 2 parts to that. So, I mean, there's any number of reasons why somebody might want to choose computer science. I think it comes down to an interest first. I mean, everyone I think on this call will agree that there's plenty of career opportunities in computer science. That's a given. So that's been consistent for the last 40 years, probably, I'd say. So you can take that as read. Really after that, then it's what would you want to achieve inside computer science? What do you think you can contribute? How do you see that fitting into a grand plan for yourself? Maybe you don't have a plan. Maybe you just like mucking about with some computing stuff, and that's cool as well. I didn't have a plan when I got into it. I be 100% straight with everyone. I ended up doing a computing course a number of years ago because I didn't get the points for a course I wanted to do, that I didn't really want to do, but I kind of chose to do computing instead. And I loved it, absolutely loved it. And then as I went on, I realized that all the kind of the signs were really there. I used to like mucking about with computers when I was younger. I was reasonably okay at maths. I like problem solving. That's a big thing. I like problem solving as in puzzles and things like that. So that was all kind of lining up for computing. But at that time, computing wouldn't have been as prevalent as it is now. So the first thing you need to look at is, why would you want to do computer science? Then as to why you'd want to do computer science at WIT, well, that really depends on a number of factors. I don't want to go bashing other institutes or other universities because that's not really what we're about. But I think we have a good suite of programs. I think we have a very strong faculty. We have a wide range of interest areas that are actively engaged. One of the benefits that Waterford has over other universities is we have reasonably small class sizes. And what I mean by that is that you're not in a class with 200 people. You could be in a class with 20 people or 40 people, depending on what the module is. That's the subject. So there's a good balance here in WIT between the theoretical and the practical. So we do talk about the background science that goes into these things, but we also try and tie it back to reality so that we don't become bound by the theory and everything is blue sky, but can't be applied in the real world. So I think we do that pretty well. And I'm sure some of my colleagues here might be able to say something that's a bit more coherent than that.
Yeah, no, I think excellently said, Rob. And I think as well, the closeness we have with local industry as well informs programs and ensures that our programs are delivered to their needs. They very much input into, as we develop the programs, as we develop subjects, to ensure that what we're delivering to the students and what we're training the students in is up to date and is very, very relevant for what the industry needs. So maybe we'll even just hinting on that and some of the subjects that are new to the field of computer science as students come in will be, a main one will be programming. So do you feel that you'd need to have some kind of an underlying understanding of programming before you come into the course? Maybe Sinead, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. This is one of the questions that we're always asked. And as somebody who teaches programming, you don't need any level of understanding. You don't need to have done programming before at all. We will teach you absolutely everything from scratch. And as Rob mentioned there a second ago, we just want you to be interested. If you come with that interest, we will teach you everything you need to know from scratch. And then, okay, if you do struggle a little bit with the programming, we actually have a learning center here that will help you then with that module. But to answer your question, Alan, no, we need absolutely no level of computer programming before you come in.
Okay, very good. And then I suppose there may be a conception there that someone choosing computer science has to have a very strong maths background. What would you say to that, or what's your feeling on that? Who would like to take that question? John, maybe?
Yeah, so you don't necessarily need to have a strong maths background, but it does help a little bit. In the first 2 years of most of our programs, there would be a maths element to it as you go through. And a lot of it would be similar to kind of Leaving Cert level maths or maybe statistics and probability, those kind of subjects. But again, like Sinead was saying, we have a maths learning center here, which is staffed all week long and people can drop in and out as they feel. So it's nearly like a free grind center that's supported by lecturing staff and postgraduate students and the center manager.
So just to follow on from what John said there, with the maths, it's the problem solving element of it. So a lot of computing is solving problems, and it's that part of the maths that you need to be interested in, again, to solve problems, how to program, how to design, so a lot of it is the problem solving element of maths.
And being a logical thinker. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, maths isn't a huge element. Like, you do 12 modules per semester.
Yeah.
Let's say on creative computing and multimedia applications development, you do 3 maths modules over that 4-year period. You know, so
Yeah.
it's important not to focus too much on maths either, because it's only a small element of the courses.
Okay. Okay. Very good. And I suppose it gives a clear understanding that again, it's not a huge focus, but the elements of maths required for computer science is taught, not a full breadth of the maths that's studied, for example, at Leaving Cert. Maybe I suppose a question on program. If you're not interested in programming, or if you don't want to go down that route in programming, is there programs in the department that are still for you? If you're, for example, if you're interested in IT.
Yeah, so I'll take that one. So the course that I look after is the Bachelor of Science in Information Technology. And while there is some programming on all modules, because they're computing courses, some programs focus less on programming. And I guess the Bachelor of Science in Information Technology is one of those. So while we will do some programming first year, maybe a little bit in second year, our focus then is elsewhere. So our course focus then on data. You know, companies, like, data is the most valuable resource in the world now over oil. And what we look at is how we get that data, how we analyze it, how we store it, where it is on the cloud. So there's so much more to computing than programming. And a lot of the time people think it's, you know, developing apps, you know, it's just about programming, it's just about development, where there's so many jobs that are not that focused. And a lot of people don't want to just program, but there is courses like mine and like others in the department that are not solely programming focused, which is important to remember.
Okay, yeah, so no, that's a very good point, Sinead. And maybe what we'll do is we'll just discuss that a little bit more about what are the other types of core subjects that are on the courses outside, I suppose, programming and maths. So maybe Mary, if we just come to you around your programs, you know, what other programs or what other modules would be on the programs of study?
Well, from a computing point of view, we have business analytics in our later years, which is, you know, into big data and you know, taking in data sets and being able to analyze them and use those as a strategic tool going forward. Also on our program, I suppose it's unique to software development in the country. We offer a stream choice between the student can choose languages or psychology, which are sought after skills as well. So as well as having the skill set to become competent developers, they'll also have a skill chosen by them that will make them, you know, stand out when they go out into the job market. So, you know, having a skill set in languages will allow the graduate to be able to converse or be able to understand pieces coming in from around the world, because most companies now are global and dealing with global markets. Okay, so the language is a skill we offer. Another skill we offer then as well, or a stream we offer, is psychology. So, you know, gaining an understanding of the user in an IT context is important. So as well as being able to understand humans per se, being able to understand the difference between users and developers and how users think is important. Like a few years ago, we've had students up in SAP up in Dublin, and they were very excited that psychology was being taught on computing programs, because being able to understand the user is key, as well as being a developer. You know, you're not developing in a tunnel, you're developing for end users and being able to have an understanding of them. So they're just some of the other stream options we have. From a technical point of view, as well as having business analytics, we all most of the courses have database on their course as well. Like as Sinead said, data is key, and then computer science as well, and being able to, and networking, obviously, being able to have computers talking to each other, back end, front end, and all that, those type of skills.
Okay, Mary, thanks very much. So there is, I suppose, a broader spectrum of skills on these different courses. So maybe what we do is we'll have a discussion of some of the other programs in 1 minute, but there's a couple of questions just coming in here. So there's a mature student looking to come back to education, but they're unsure of what computing program to pick. So if they pick a course and they see another one is more appropriate, can they swap, and when can they swap? So assuming they're coming in on first year.
Well, if they come in September, Alan, by the end of September, usually there's a date given where the student can go talk to the retention officer and maybe transfer if the entry requirements are similar. Other than that, then they stay complete first year, and usually our courses are transferable enough so they can transfer from one program to the other at the end of first year. Okay, so and we have a retention officer, which is very important in the college. So in the first instance, they talk to their course leader, and usually then we direct them to the what other programs they're interested in. Maybe go talk to the other program leaders, and then go to the retention officer.
Okay, very much. Thanks very much, Mary. There's another question there: is what year do students do placement in?
Third year.
Yeah.
Semester 5 on some of the programs, and semester 6 on other programs.
Yeah. And that placement then is basically for a full semester, and it could be up to 6 months depending on when that starts. With it includes the period over the summer as well, either leading into semester 1 or at the end of semester 2. So maybe what we'll do is we'll come back and just discuss maybe some of the other courses on some of the other programs. So Sinead O'Riordan, would I just come to you just to talk about maybe some of the other courses on the creative programs?
Yeah. I suppose often people get a little bit confused about creative computing and multimedia applications development and what are these courses. They are fundamentally computer science, modern computer science courses, okay? But they're specializing in creative media. And by creative media, I'm saying graphic design, animation, media production, such as audio, video production, user experience design as well, UX design, which it's known as. And I suppose the breakdown is very important too, to get that across to potential students, that you do about 60%, approximately 60% core computer science modules or subjects, and 40% creative, okay? So it works well, and it allows our graduates to have a very diverse career choice as a result.
Okay, all right, thanks very much, Sinead. Rob, I'll just come to you just around, I suppose, the different options coming into the common entry. How would people choose which stream is suitable for them, or when that would take place?
Yep. So on applied computing, I mean, I suppose I'd echo everything that everyone else has said here, and it is important. The important fact, right? So there's computing as a discipline is an unusual discipline to every other discipline, because computing spans pretty much everything. I can't think of a single area that hasn't been impacted by computing. And I'm talking about agriculture or healthcare or art or music or you name it, dentistry. I can't think of a single one. So the importance of all of our courses here, and this is true of creative computing, applied computing, software systems development, it doesn't matter, that what you learn is a set of fundamental skills, but it's only the start of the journey. If you think that I'll do my degree and that's it, now I'm done, I can sit back and wait until I retire, I'm sorry, this is not the discipline for you, because things are going to change. Things change in computing constantly. And that's, to me, one of the most attractive factors, that you just never know what's going to happen next. The only thing I know is that whatever we'll be doing in 5 years won't be the same as what we're doing now. And I think that's cool. I like that. I like that a lot. So with that in mind, in applied computing, we have a number of streams that a student can specialize in. So there's games development, there's forensics and security, there's Internet of Things, cloud and networks, and automotive and automation systems. Now, that might just seem like a load of gobbledygook to you who's listening, saying, I don't know what those words mean really. But that's absolutely fine, because the key difference or the key thing about applied computing is that a student doesn't make that choice until the end of first year. So cloud computing is a great example. It's a nebulous thing. Nobody knows what it means. But by the end of first year, students have enough exposure to that technology and to the kind of the stuff that goes on in that space that they can kind of say, okay, well, actually, I might like to learn a lot more about this. and then they can choose that as a specialist stream for the remainder of their degree on applied computing. It's not the full degree. It's depending on the semester. So, we always assume people know what we're talking about when we're talking about semesters. Every academic year is divided up into 2 semesters. You basically kind of have before Christmas and after Christmas. And each semester has 6 modules or thereabouts. Sometimes it can be slightly less. Has 6 modules. And on applied computing, at the most, 2 of those modules are in your specialist stream, and then the other 4 are common. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes and 1 specialist, but it depends on where you are in the course. And that allows a student to get that general set of skills, but equally specialize in the interest area that might kind of ignite their passions. Yesterday I had a great conversation with a graduate of ours who did games technology. He did games development, and he's now working for TSSG, who are a research group attached to WIT. They're about to be renamed Walton, and he is working in virtual reality and augmented reality and what's now being dubbed mixed reality. So this was a guy who was big into games. He was going to be a games programmer. This was what he wanted to do. But now he's developing healthcare modeling systems in virtual reality. And he won an award for a thing that they did for the coronavirus back at the early stages of the pandemic. Now, if you said that to him 5 years ago, he wouldn't have believed you. First off, nobody knew what coronavirus was. The concept of mixed reality wasn't really there. Virtual reality, as we know it today, was in its infancy. And here we now have these very high-tech, almost Tony Stark technology products that are actually real and exist. And what allowed Ryan, this chap in particular, to do that, to move or to pivot in that space, was that he had enough fundamental skills as well as the specialist skills and the interest. That interest and that curiosity to bring these things further. That's probably a much longer answer than you expected.
That's fine, Rob. Thanks very much for that. There's a couple more questions coming in on the chat. This is around, I suppose, the worry of the CAO points. So the CAO points affecting this year's applied computing. Will there be an impact because the demand is going up? So, for example, there's more students coming into the CAO system this year than there was last year with students deferring. I suppose the answer to that is we're unsure at the moment how that would affect the number of students and the CAO points. Obviously, the institutes would have a number of places, and the points are determined on the number of students applying for those places. Now, last year, we did see that there was an increase in funding available for places at institutes. We're not sure if that will be the same again this year, but if it is, then the points would broadly remain the same. So again, it's still a little bit early to tell, but we should be able to see, what the points would be closer to, I suppose, closer to over the summer, really. There's another question coming in there. It's do you need a language for all or any of the courses? So this will be Leaving Cert students. Do they need a language coming into any of these courses?
Sorry, no. Can I get a clarification on that? Do you mean like a French or German language, or a computer programming language?
I would say a spoken language.
Oh.
No.
Okay. So there's no need for that. That's fine. Can they do the work placement outside of Ireland, or does it have to be in Waterford?
No, they can do it wherever they get it.
Yeah, so they can do an international placement, work placement. Yeah, that's
once it's related to computing.
Yeah, exactly.
In relation, we have links with many universities across Europe that our past students have actually gone to over the years. So if you did want to go away, we actually have the links with the colleges, so you wouldn't necessarily have to find them yourselves either. That, we've had past students, so we have good relationships with these colleges, so it makes that Erasmus going away much easier as well.
Okay, thanks very much. There's another question again around languages. Can someone do a language if it isn't on their course? I would like to get a DELF or DELE exam done in my years at WIT. I wish to do applied computing. Is there any comment on that? So this will be in addition to the course.
Okay, I'd be 100% straight with you. I don't know what Delph is. There used to be a language years ago called Delphi, but that's quite old now. I don't know what the state of it currently is, but I suppose most programs here start with Java. Not all, they start with Java or JavaScript, and then we expand out depending on the tools or technologies of the day. So I'm when students ask what languages will I learn or what packages will I use, I'm very reluctant to tell you to state a definitive answer, because the truth is I don't know. For example, I teach app programming. I teach in iOS land and also over in Android land. Now, up until recently enough, in Android we were teaching Java, whereas we've made the full shift 2-3 years ago to Kotlin, which is a relatively new language. Whereas if you were a fourth year student and you'd asked me that question in first year and I said to you Java, we weren't using Kotlin then. Whereas now we're full on with Kotlin, which is a different language. So what my thing about programming is that once you learn one language, a lot of the concepts carry through to the next one, and actually becomes quite easy. Quite easy to learn a new language. The syntax is usually simple enough, because you can pick that up in a book. An if statement has this kind of bracket or that kind of bracket, or a colon or a semicolon. It doesn't really matter. The main thing is that you understand those kind of those programming concepts, like loops or conditional branching or threading or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. Once you understand what you want to do, figuring out the how is usually easy enough. Famous last words. So to answer the question, can you learn other programming languages in the course? The answer is absolutely yes, but you might not need to. And what you think you need to know now might not actually be what you need in 2 or 3 years' time. I hope that answers your question.
I actually think that Delph is actually a French language. I think is that what the student was looking about?
Could be that, yeah.
So if it is, I think to answer that, you can study anything you want outside, but you'll only be marked and graded on, the 6 subjects that you have. There's no facility as such to take extra modules. If the Delph is the French question.
Okay. Thanks very much, Sinead. There's another question there as well. Is there a good taster thing you can do online to see if you're interested in computing? Yeah, so maybe if there's anything in particular you could recommend.
I'm sorry, no, I don't mean to be taken over, and I'll shut up after this. Right? But I'm a big, huge fan of the Hour of Code. These are really easy browser-based activities where you can try out some programming tests, little activities, little exercises. My kids have done it. My 7-year-olds have done it. My father did one recently. He's in his 70s. So anyone can do these. They look like little games. They sometimes have characters in them, like Minecraft characters or Star Wars characters. But you do there's a lot of core computing concepts contained in them, whether it's functions or recursion or event-driven programming or whatever. They're block-based. You don't need to spend your time typing. You drag stuff around, and you do any of those in a browser right now. It says they take an hour, but in my experience, they take less, about a half an hour really. hourofcode.com. If you just Google Hour of Code, it'll come up, and you can pretty much pick any of the activities, and they're great. Over the midterm break during lockdown there a couple of weeks ago, my kids were doing a thing called Make Code. It's a Microsoft one, Microsoft Make Code. Again, if you Google it, you'll find it. And it was all games based. It was building up games and pixel art games, a block-based driven programming environment, very easy to get into. But there's a lot of concepts in here that we do in first year. So I think Make Code is really good. Hour Code is very, very good. And after that, then Python, anything to do with the Coder Dojo or Raspberry Pi Foundation, you'll find a lot of introductory tutorials there.
Okay, Rob, thanks very much. And previously, I suppose, before the pandemic, we would have also run Try Computing events where we would bring students in on campus for maybe a day or so, and there's, I suppose, opportunities for the lecturers and the students just to go through and really see what is the computing programs like on campus. So we hope to get them up and running again maybe next semester. but we will do some more, I suppose, events like this as well, where we can talk to the lecturers and I suppose unearth some of the types of topics within our computing programs later on in the year as well. There's another question.
Sorry, Alan, just to stop you there. We are doing a camp at the end of this year, this academic year. It's going to be online. So I don't know the exact details of it yet in terms of the dates, but we are doing an online ICT camp. So that will be available, and we'll be advertising that once we have all our ducks in a row.
Perfect. Yeah. So, I mean, what we can do there is just go keep a look at the WIT website, and the announcements would be there on how you can apply and how you can participate in that. That's a very good point to mention. There's another question coming in here. I'm struggling to decide between applied computing common entry and software systems development. What would you recommend I decide between them? So I suppose it's to understand what the differences are. So Mary, do you want to maybe just highlight the differences there, just to give a student maybe a steer in whatever direction?
Well, first of all, it depends on whether you want to come in on the level 7 or the level 8 program, and the points you're achieving. So the software systems has an honours program, and applied computing is an honours program. Similar points, I think. There's a little in the difference between them. And then the level 7 obviously will have lower points coming in. Software system development, I suppose, if you know that you want to become a developer, that's I suppose the key point of our program, the key output. Your skill set will become a competent developer. You will learn the other skills as well of, as I said, of the other technology skills, the analytical skills, and computer science and all that, the core skills. Whereas I suppose on the applied computing road, they go down into more applied programming, down the games route, the cloud computing route, and the other routes that Rob have mentioned earlier. Whereas as I mentioned earlier, the stream choices we have are more on the, I suppose, the soft skills side would be our core skills would be on the, our streams are in data data and programming are our two main streams, and then our complementary streams would be the elective choices between the languages and the psychology. Whereas Rob's skills, and Rob can come in on this, their elective, their choices would be to go down the networking route or to go down the games route, and they be more computer science routes, whereas our are more on the softer side. That would be my take on it. And Rob, would you like to add something?
Oh, I'd agree with what you say. I mean, applied computing would be probably the most techie, and I'm doing my air quotes, of the courses here. But I don't like to make that as a value judgment either. It's comparing apples and oranges, or maybe comparing two types of oranges, because they are similar. I mean, we all teach on each other's courses, and we're involved in each other's courses, and we share modules. So I teach on software systems development, for example, and some of the programmers there are among the best that we have in the college. So I don't want anyone to think that one program is better than the other. It's what's the best fit for you. Because I suppose here's the thing, I don't want to say, yeah, come and do applied computing because it's the best program, and then you start applied computing and then you realize after a few months, I'd much rather be doing creative computing or IT or whatever it is, or SSD, and then you drop out. We'd rather you found the best fit for yourself, and then stick with it and see it through to completion. And equally, that's true. You might do computing and then realize, this isn't for me at all. I'd much rather do something else. But that happens regularly, and it's not a failure. It's sometimes you have to learn about what it is that you like and what it is that you really want to do with your life. It's very easy for us to turn around and say, this is what you should do. Whereas only you can make that decision. Pre-COVID, we'd often see students who start on one program and then go in and do another. So a couple of years ago, there was a student who started on applied computing. He did a year of it, but he didn't really like it. And then he swapped out and he did the chef course, cooking, culinary arts, and loved it, and absolutely loves it. And up until very, very recently, is working in a really top class restaurant, and he's one of the best chefs around the area. So I'm delighted when I see that. But equally, we have students who start on one program and transfer into computing from elsewhere. We have people who came from finance backgrounds, or a lot of people came from the building trade over the last number of years into computing and have really enjoyed it. So it comes back to what is the best fit for you. That's probably not helpful in terms of giving you a definitive answer. But
another key consideration, I suppose, coming in is your maths requirement. Our maths requirements are different to what's on applied computing. So just check that out in the entry requirements as well, because the maths we do is different in first year. Just as I said, the applied computing is more computer science than software systems development.
Okay, Mary and Rob, thanks very much for that. There's another question in there. What kind of jobs does creative computing prepare you for?
Hey, I suppose the course gives you a very, very unique skill set. Our graduates have very diverse specialist areas of expertise, both in the computer science area and also the creative media. Our graduates, they're highly employable because they are very unique, because not only can they maybe develop the back end of a website, for example, they're also very capable of creating the graphical interface, the user experience interface of the front of what all our users see. So our graduates, they can work in development, such as web development, mobile app development, but they can also work in graphic design. You know, so some of our students go along and do a course, a computer science course specializing in creative media, and then go on to a career in pure graphic design. You know, but generally it's web development, graphic design, user experience design, media production. So they might go into the entertainment industry in terms of animation, audio, video production, and so on. Okay, so it's very diverse, is what I'm saying.
That's perfect, Sinead. Thanks very much for that. I'm conscious now, John, we haven't come to you for a little while, so maybe what we'll do is just maybe you can give us a little bit of more detail on the computer forensics program that we have within the department.
Yeah, so the computer forensics program is very closely aligned with Rob's applied computing. We both share the same spine of 4 core modules all the way through. And the specialism in terms of forensics and security is about identifying data and resources, putting the technologies in place to protect those data and resources, monitoring them, and then being able to respond when something goes wrong. And how do you gather evidence from computers, from phones, from networks, from IoT type devices? How do you do that securely? How do you put the correct legal controls in place if it's a criminal investigation? And how do you present that later on then? So we have a variety of different roles that people go into, from doing things like incident response in companies. So this is a very, very big area. It is, how do you deal with an event, a security event or a security breach that's happened? How do you gather the evidence off the network? How do you get a snapshot of the machine? And how do you go and then analyze all that? We also have people that work in the areas such as file recovery and data recovery. And an area that a lot of people go into as well would be traditionally what were known as the big 4 accountancy firms, or now the big 5 professional services firms. So these are the Deloittes, the KPMGs, the Ernst & Youngs, Grant Thornton, these kind of places, which all now provide things like cybersecurity consultancy, e-discovery, data protection consultancy, all these wide areas. And many people think that the area of cybersecurity and forensics is very pigeonholed and very small. It's actually the opposite. It's a really, really broad area that affects everything. And if you go to something like, say, the BBC Technology News website every day, chances are you're going to find a load of stories every day that are related to cybersecurity, if you actually look at it closely and you look at what's involved in it. So it's actually an area that's very, very broad.
Okay, That's perfect, John. Thanks very much for that. So,
Sorry, Alan, can I add there that we were talking about for specific areas, etc. But like areas where other people get, you can go into after you come out of your degree would be, research, go into research or go into education. All of us have come through computer degrees and ended up in education. So, it's a wide open world out there. And as Rob said earlier, your job will evolve and your role evolves in your job as well. So it is an exciting area, an exciting background area to have.
Okay.
And one last point I want to make on that as well is that we give students the tools and technologies that will allow them to travel. They don't have to just work locally, nationally. These are tools and technologies that are recognized throughout the world. And we're teaching those industry standard tools and technologies to allow our graduates to travel if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
Okay, very good, very good. Maybe some more practical questions then, just about, I suppose, campus life. Is there a computing club or a computing society on campus?
Yeah, so I think there's one or two. So there's the traditional computer society, and then there's also a women in tech society.
Yeah.
So just for the girls who are interested in computing, there is a separate society as well for you, just to kind of promote technology, to promote women in tech. And again, it's something that, we look at, we care a lot about in WIT as well, that we do get a lot of girls to come in and do computing because it's just as relevant for guys as girls. And particularly, we had a women in tech event in the last couple of years, and companies have told us that they want girls, that they can't get enough girls. So it's just something that I always like to highlight at Open Day, that, it's not a boys club. Okay, it's, girls and boys, everyone should be trying to get into computing as well.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, Sinead. And I suppose even on that then as well is what's the mix of male and female that do the courses? Is there a reflection of a good balance, or is there some still issues there, or not issues, but encouragement for young women to come in and do these programs?
I would say in creative computing and in multimedia applications development, there are probably more males, but I would say 60% males, maybe to 40% females, and that has changed significantly in recent years.
Okay, no, that's excellent. That's very good. Maybe again, some more practical questions around, does a student need to own their own computer as they come in to do this program? Or is there some advice on that?
This year they do.
Yeah.
I mean, right. So we've always had this has always been a kind of an argument that we've kind of had between ourselves. Do students need to have their own computer? The official line is no, because computers are provided. However, I would say, now this is me personally talking, that if you're studying computing, you really want to have your own machine. You don't want to be reliant on a lab being open and a machine being free. You want to have a little bit of autonomy. That has really come to the fore now this year. Like in the last year, it's become essential. I can't imagine anyone doing computing without their own computer. Now, we did have computers we were able to give to students this year. The government funded a scheme. But I don't think the pickup in computing students was very, very high, because most of them had their own machines anyway. Generally, we do find that students have their own machines. I'm very reluctant to say this is the kind of computer you need in terms of specs, because it really does depend on what your application areas are. For example, if you're somebody doing web development, you have a different set of criteria than, say, somebody doing game development. Or if you're somebody who's heavy into forensics, you're going to have a different kind of set of priorities than somebody who's doing IoT, Internet of Things. So usually what certainly on the Computer Systems 1 course, which is actually, I think, is taught in semester 1 of all the programs, which I teach. It's one of the first things we do is we go through buying a PC, specking what all those specs and numbers mean, to hopefully help students make a more informed choice when they actually go to buy a machine. So the answer is officially no, but in reality, yes. And I suspect going forward, it might become an official yes.
Okay, thanks very much for that. And just one comment on that as well, is we do have computing resources available to students on campus. One final question is, I know we're just probably about out of time. How many hours a week would students expect to be devoting to the programs? So there's lecturing hours, tutorial hours, and then there's study as well.
Well, our students have 6 modules, and most modules have 4 contact hours. Now, some maybe programming might have 5 hours, communication skills might have 3 hours, but on balance, it's 4 hours per module. So while it sounds a lot, 24 contact hours, it's a mix of tutorials, lectures, and practicals. And I teach double practical classes, and the time just flies. The students really engage and enjoy them. So it isn't as much as it sounds, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, I'd just like to thank everyone from the panel as well, and I hope everyone has enjoyed and we've addressed your questions. If you want to know anything else about any of the programs, there's a video tab on the website as well. You can have a look at pre-recorded videos of all the programs from our program leaders, and that will go into a little bit more detail on all the programs as well. So again, I thank you all for listening. Thanks to the panel for participating as well. And again, we're still available to answer any questions through the chat throughout the day.
Just before you go, Alan, those videos, there's a few of them missing this morning, so I'll check on those, but I know that some of those overviews of the courses are actually missing this morning, but we'll get that resolved over the next few days. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks everybody. That absolutely flew. 45 minutes and went. I could stay here for another 45. So just to thank you all for coming and ask you to leave the chat in an orderly fashion so we can move over to our next talk, which is with your lovely students, and they're all sitting in the waiting room waiting for you guys to get out. Thanks everybody.
Good luck.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
So the next talk, Alan, thanks a million for that. Alan, you're going to be hosting the panel for the next talk, which is going to be a chat with our students who are going to hopefully tell us the real story behind all the courses. So I'm going to admit everybody now.
Yep.
And Alan, I'm going to hand back over to you. Hi, folks. Thanks for joining.
Okay, Alice, thanks very much. Okay, hi guys. Welcome all to this session. So I'll just do a quick introduction to myself again. For anyone else who's joining, I'm Alan Davey. I'm the head of Department of Computing and Mathematics here at WIT. So this is our open day, and we have a panel discussion now with some students from the programs. So what we might do, first of all, I might come to each of the students just to introduce yourself and say what program you're on. And what we'll do then is we'll just move into some questions and some open discussion then again, just to get your point of view of the programs that you study. So maybe what we'll do is I'll come first to just on my screen, Gianluca. So maybe just introduce yourself, what program you're on, what year you're on, and we'll move on to the next student then. Okay?
Yeah, sure. As Alan said, my name is Gianluca. I am a fourth-year student in applied computing. So just going into the final stages now of the course. I am originally from South Africa, and I've been in Ireland. I actually moved here to do the course. My family, actually my older sister did the exact same course too. So I saw that and then decided to join and do it.
Okay, very good. Excellent, Gianluca. We move to Dominic next.
Hello, I'm Dominic. I'm from Poland. I am a first-year student in System Software Development.
Okay, perfect, Dominic. Thanks very much. Elizabeth, we'll come to you next.
Hi, so I'm Elizabeth Neary, and I'm a first-year student, and I'm studying software development.
Okay.
WIT.
Perfect, Elizabeth. Thanks very much. Dean, we'll come to you next.
So hi, I'm Dean Fitzpatrick, and I'm a second-year student studying the BSc in Information Technology.
Okay, thanks very much, Dean. Niall, we'll come to you next.
Hi, my name is Niall Walsh. I'm a third-year multimedia applications development student.
Okay, perfect. Thanks very much. And then Sharon, we'll come to you last then.
So I'm Sharon Power, and I'm a third-year creative computing student.
Perfect. Okay, so as we can see, we have students representing each of the programs within the modules, within the department. So really what we want to do now is just go through a few different questions to understand, I suppose, why you chose the courses you've chosen, your experience of the programs, and anything else you can share And also we might be able to get some questions in from the viewers as well, and I can relay these questions back to you, and we can again have a discussion about these. So the first one would be, I suppose, whoever wants to take this, why did you choose a computing program at WIT? Who can we, so Gianluca, maybe we can come to you again. Just you did mention you followed the footsteps of your sister.
Yeah, well, so I actually do come from a bit of a programming family. My brother-in-law, my dad, all in programming. I actually kind of stumbled into it in that I studied economics in Italy before this and kind of dropped out and hated that. And just didn't know. So I did come into the course as a mature student, and I was trying to kind of find my place, sort of thing. And I picked up a freelance gig doing some programming stuff. I had done some basic web design before, and it just kind of really clicked with me. And at the time, my sister was in first year. So I saw the course, and there was at the time the mix of applied computing and music, and it just seemed like a brilliant mix for me. So that was it.
Okay, perfect. And maybe we come to one of the first year students then. So Dominic, maybe if you could just give an overview of why have you chose computing at WIT and what the attraction there?
Yeah, so like as a young child, I've always been interested in coding actually. And in transition year, I had a good opportunity with my school where Red Hat came over and they looked for a few internships for TY students, and I got into that. And that's where I started to learn HTML and JavaScript, and that's where my passion for coding began. And that's why I decided to go into computing full time, I guess.
Okay, very good. And maybe Elizabeth, if you can just give an idea of the fact that you're in first year as well, maybe why did you choose the computing degrees at WIT?
Yeah, so I'm actually a mature student, and I struggled a lot trying to figure out what to do. I did go to a guidance counselor that suggested that I do something creative, so software development was one of the options. So what I did was, instead of going straight into college, I decided to do a PLC course to see how I'd get on with it. And I actually really enjoyed it. The kind of designing aspect of web development and app development just got me really interested in it, and just kind of laid out the foundations of programming. So I picked software development in WIT, and it was nice just being able to have the PLC to kind of settle into the WIT. So it kind of helped make my decision then.
Very good. And did you find it helpful to have that prior knowledge to some of the programs or some of the modules before you came in? So that taste or feel or?
Yeah, no, definitely. Because especially if you jump into programming, it can be a lot to take in, especially because it's something completely different. It's not like any other subjects. So you kind of have to really know the basics of programming, I suppose, to kind of get ready for third level education. So it was just nice to have the PLC to kind of know about that.
Okay, yeah, no, because it's a very good point. Because programming isn't officially a Leaving Cert subject yet. Now there is a Leaving Cert subject elective coming on to in computer studies, but it's not fully, I suppose, rolled out across the country. So I suppose having some understanding of some of these languages can be a help. Not necessarily needed, but can be a help when you're choosing some of these programs. So maybe Dean, if I could come to you first. So the program you're studying is IT. Could you say, I suppose, why did you choose that particular program, and is it different than what you expected, or is it what you expected?
So I was kind of like Gianluca. I started off doing a business course initially, and like him, I didn't enjoy it whatsoever. And I kind of sat back and reevaluated my options and said to myself, well, what am I good at, and what do I have a passion for? And I came up with the idea of IT in my head, because I've always had a passion as to why computers work and how they do things. And I suppose I came around, when I came to looking at the different course options, I saw the BSc in IT and the course content that was included. And when I saw the broad spectrum of modules that were covered, I said to myself, that'll give me knowledge in many different areas, and I can develop a very dynamic skill set from that knowledge that I can apply in the future. And I suppose with the course itself, the open day actually prepared me very, very well, because I was given all the kind of the basic information I need to know to be able to carry out the course as efficiently as possible from day one. So it was definitely what I expected and more, I would say.
Okay, very good. That's excellent to know, Dean. So there is some questions coming in on the chat, and it's around the, I suppose, the creative side of the programs we have. The question is there is, I'm very passionate about media creation and AV content. I'd love to go down the applied computing stream of media development, but I'm very unsure of the jobs it could lead to. Can you give get into the career paths of these courses? So maybe we can come to Sharon, because you're in the third year now. You know, you're not too far away from understanding what careers are in the creative space. Have you thought about the types of careers that you'd like to go into?
Yeah, so like with creative computing, we've such a broad level of knowledge that we could go from graphic design to like, we could work on a film production, we could work 3D animation, we could do video production, but we could also do like databases, working with computers, like the deeper level. Like, there's also like, we could do coding, we can do front end, back end, full all of it. So, you know, it's really, really wide what we can do.
Okay, excellent. And now, would you have any thoughts on that as well? Just the types of careers or anything that you're the kind of path you're looking to take as the next step?
Just I would repeat that it is very wide and very broad what you can do. What I would be planning to go into anyway at the end of this is definitely kind of the website side of things. My course in particular definitely has a lot of strong kind of modules that would gear you towards being able to create websites at the end of it. So that'd be something I'd look forward to. But again, anything from audio production, video production, you can get into animation. A lot of people do that. Yeah, really, whatever you want, I guess, as long as it's creative.
It's excellent to see such a broad horizon for your career opportunities coming out of the programs from the computing department.
Oh, that's fantastic! Yeah,
and I suppose it's true to say across all the other programs as well that the employability of our students is very high, and there's a very high success rate of getting employment, maybe even before you finish the programs. So there's another question there. I'd like to see what would I suppose when you're coming into the programs, what would be your most favorite modules or courses that you take in the programs? So maybe we come to Dominic again, just because you're in first year. It's a new set of programs here. What would be your most favorite programs or modules that you're interested in?
Well, currently my favorite modules would have to be web development and programming fundamentals, as those are the pure coding ones, which is what I'm most interested in. I do like the other subjects such as statistical analysis or introduction to software engineer, which bring a more businessy side, I guess you could say, where it's not strictly coding, but you get to learn about how like a company is managed or what type of methodologies they would use, like agile methodology, for example. And,
okay. Okay, thanks very much, Dominic. We do have a question in around placement there. So some of the students have done placement already. So maybe I can come to Gianluca. Can you just have a discussion on your experience of placements? You know, how did you get on? Where did you go?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to actually work for Red Hat for my placement. I had that lined up before I went into the second semester. I think it was mid first semester in third year. I had that arranged. And then I worked from January to August full time. And then I'm actually still working for them part time while I'm doing the last year. So it was a great experience. They're a really great company to work for. I think my tips there would be obviously just to be proactive on that and start searching before, maybe like maybe the summer before or as you go into the first semester, but don't leave it till the start of that semester to start arranging placements. There are opportunities. The companies are quite flexible. So I think it was a month in and we had to start working from home. So they just gave us a computer, sent us on our way, and said, we're already doing everything on video chats anyway, because they had that culture. But yeah, great place to work, and there's plenty others around Waterford that are good to work for.
Yeah, and I think that is an important point to note, Gianluca, there as well, is how well the IT industry or the computing industry has adapted to the change in work environment that has been brought on by the pandemic. It's I suppose on a broad part been mostly unaffected, because they can easily move to this remote working practice. Maybe if I can just have another note on that as well from Sharon and Niall. Did you have a placement, or have you finished your placements, or what's the
Yeah, so I had a placement. I think the majority of our class did manage to find placement, which we were kind of lucky given the situation. And I managed to find a really good website placement for the entire duration of it, which was great. It was a bit strange it being online, but it was something you kind of got used to. And yeah, it's very enjoyable.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'd just say as well about that, I didn't actually manage to find a placement, so I did certs. So I'm certified in Adobe and Microsoft Technical Associate. So like, while they're not ideal, while you probably would rather get your placement, the options are there to do your certs, and they're very, very good.
Yeah, so that's a good point, Sharon, and I think it is important to note as well. So during that placement year, if there is any reasons why you can't find a placement, what we do is we provide professional certification for the students. So this will be a certification provided by, I suppose, a leading standard or leading industry player. For example, Adobe. So you would have a professional certification provided by Adobe. The exams will be carried out by them as well under I suppose observation by the WIT lecturers. So it is, again, it's important to know that we do have a number of different options there. During the placement as well, we have an Erasmus program as well. The Erasmus program has been stalled at the moment due to the pandemic, but there would be an opportunity for students to go abroad and to do their placement abroad. So hopefully in time to come, that could be back up and running again. So maybe, I suppose, a little bit more of a practical question, and this could be applied to all of you. How was your experience in attending college remotely? So has this moved our education to remote delivery? Has it had much of an effect, or what's your feelings about that? I understand maybe the first years, it's your first year coming into this experience. So maybe if we go to Dean, your experience, because you would have had some time on campus the prior year. How do you think WIT is providing the education, or how do you think you're experiencing that, and that may change? And this is because next September we may have a similar situation, so it would be important for new students to understand that as they come in.
Yeah, so obviously when the whole online thing kicks off, the biggest thing is kind of just setting up a routine for yourself, because obviously when you're in the college, you know where to be, you have your schedule, and you know what classes are when and where to be. But whereas with the online thing, you kind of have to almost bide your time very well, because obviously you have to fit in time for classes, then do assignments or whatever the case might be at the end of the day. So the biggest thing with the online learning was time management for me, because when I was in the college, I had a structure, whereas when I was at home, you tend to not really have a structure at home, because you're like, oh, I'm at home now, so I don't have to do this. Whereas when you set a routine up for yourself, you can say, okay, classes now, and you know exactly what's going to happen for the rest of your day. And I suppose the biggest thing will just be to kind of almost enjoy it, because obviously you won't be obviously in physical contact, so you won't be meeting people for the first time as you would usually. But as things hopefully gradually open back up and we get brought back in gradually, you'll be able to meet people and socialize and get to know people a lot better.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly it, Dean. I think it's understanding there's an opportunity there to learn time management skills that generally you wouldn't need to, because it's put forward to you. There's a very solid structure in place for campus life, and hopefully now, when in September we will be in a position to bring students on campus more frequently in maybe smaller groups and expanding that out. We did in September last year. We did have some practical labs on campus for some of the student groups. So there was an opportunity to at least meet some other students and that, and get that familiarity to know who else is in your class, you know, while you're on your video lectures, I suppose. So there is another question there as well, that we have from the programs as well. Have any of you had an experience from the Computing and Maths Learning Centre? So this would be the learning centre that we have within the department, and it's to support students that want to either understand a little bit more about the programming or maths, or want to excel in programming or maths. We have tutors there. Have any of you, I suppose, partaken in those tutorial sessions, or reached out to the Computing and Maths Learning Department? And maybe you could share your experience there.
Yeah, I've been there a few times myself. When on campus was a thing, I was there in my first year. And obviously when I left school, even in school myself, maths was never my strong point from the beginning of school to the end, really. And when I got into college, at the beginning, when we started doing maths again, I was kind of still struggling with getting a grasp on the kind of basics of what I should be knowing. And so I went in there, and there's two maths tutors in there who are more than happy to actually help you understand the very, very basics if that's the case. So you just go in there, they'll ask you, okay, well, what's the topic you're struggling with? And they'll sit down with you for as long as you need to talk you through, well, look, this is the basics, and here's a few examples, and they'll do some with you so you can see exactly how it's meant to be done. And then you can apply that then to when it comes to revising for exams, you have those to look back on. And that was kind of my experience with getting help with maths back then.
Okay, excellent, Dean. Thanks very much for that. Anyone else have any experience with the centre?
Yeah, I have. I recently just joined it there this semester because I was struggling with just JavaScript. See, we as first years, we haven't really gotten the opportunity to be on campus. First semester we did every 2 weeks. So we didn't really have the chance to really explore around either. But I joined the group, and it was nice just to have a tutor kind of explaining things to you face on. I had my tutor, Siobhan, so she was like really helpful with JavaScript. She talked me through everything. Because sometimes it's hard to get that with teachers, especially when they have a whole class, and just to kind of get time to have a one-on-one. So it was just nice having Siobhan just kind of walk through everything, and then you can keep booking appointments whenever you need help with anything. So it's a good resource to have when you're struggling with certain things.
Okay, yeah, and I think like that, it's just Elizabeth and Dean, your experience there, it's kind of it's what we've been hearing across other students that are using the centre as well. It's to give you that just extra bit of focus and one-to-one time that potentially you may not get with the lecturer, especially with the current situation as well. It's more difficult to have that one-to-one time with lecturers, even during the tutorials. They might not be able to get around to all the students. So there is additional resources there that students can and do leverage to support their studies. Because in the end of the day, what matters most is how you perform, and however you get your results and put your effort in. To use the supports that are there, it's only to your advantage. So there's another question there as well. Maybe some more practical questions around. Do you need to have your own laptop, or do you need to have a very high spec machine to carry out your studies? Does anyone want to have maybe a question on that? Gianluca, do you want to just maybe have give an overview of that, of the type of investment you need to make in computing?
Yeah, sure.
Programs.
Yeah, sure. I think I guess it's a bit of a convoluted answer, but you don't necessarily need a laptop to get started, especially when going on campus, because they have the computers there that you can use. It does make life a lot easier if you do have your own machine. Personally, I've got a MacBook which I invested in, which has done very good for me. And I found like a Linux-based machine to just be better for me, because it's easier to run stuff from the terminal and that kind of stuff. so if you can, yeah, go for it. But I don't think like initially you need to have the highest spec computer, because you're not going to be like pushing it to its limits. You just need to get the basic stuff done, be able to like have enough RAM to run some of the software, but I don't think you need to max it out.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point, Gianluca. We do have, and WIT provides a number of computing labs. So the tutorials, when on campus, all students will have access to those resources. But again, if you had the opportunity to purchase your own machine to carry out your studies, then obviously there could be benefits to that. But again, it's not necessary, but again, it's just in your own interest. So I think it's important for maybe students deciding to come in to do these programs. What do they need to do, especially in first year? At the moment, we need a laptop just to participate in lessons, but to carry out any programming or anything like that, those resources are available to students on campus. So we've talked about the courses, the Maths Learning Centre, careers. I'm just wondering if there's any other questions coming in on the chat there. So maybe what we can do is just talk about each of the particular programs and anything that's unique to those programs. So maybe what we'll do first is we just talk about the software systems development. So we have Dominic and Elizabeth are both on software systems development. Maybe if you could just say why you chose that particular program. Was there something about the program that drew you to that over the other programs? And what we'll do is we'll kind of go through the other programs as well, just to see, you know, the students' point of view of those programs. So maybe we just come to Dominic first. Why specifically software systems development over potentially maybe the other programs?
Well, personally, actually, I was very torn between choosing applied computing and choosing system software development. But the reason why I went with system software development at the end was because it was a more wider range of what I could do. Like with applied computing, you'd have to end up like focusing onto one specific module, I guess, like with or like whether that be game development or computer forensics and security, and that felt kind of limiting to me. I'd rather do a bit of everything, because right now we're in a time where we don't necessarily have to specialize in computing in order to get a job, and I knew this coming into SSD. That's like the main reason why I chose it, was because I had like a wider range of doing anything. I could also learn business things on the side as well if I ever wanted to run my own company, or if I wanted to work in a smaller company as well.
Okay, very good. And Elizabeth, then, just in that.
Yeah, no, it's basically the same as Dominic as well. I just think that software development just had more opportunities that I was kind of interested in as well. Just with the modules as well, there's different branches that you can go down, and even the thing with programming, it's like literally learning a new language, and I just love learning new languages. And it's the same with software development, that in second year you can choose another subject, so you can choose between psychology, French, German as well. And I just think it's nice just to have like a programming and even just another language to have with you. So there's massive opportunities for that. You can go abroad to do your programming or get a job. It's a very big opportunity to have that behind you as well. So
okay, no, that's excellent. That's very good. Thanks very much for that. So maybe the same question to Dean, just around IT, or why specifically the IT course do you think that was for you?
Yeah, so in my case, like Dominic and Elizabeth, the IT course it's 3 years, and it offers a very broad range of subjects. You're not limited to one or two areas, but as the first year in general, it's broad in regards to you do a bit of everything. So you do your networks, your programming, your web design, all the kind of creative subjects. And then as you get into the second and third year, it kind of narrows down into networking and business information systems and cloud computing. So those would be the two main areas that are structured towards the end of the course. And those are two areas that have very high employability rates. So that's one of the main factors that attracted me to taking the IT course above all else.
Okay, very good, Dean. there's a question there around applied computing. So maybe Gianluca, I'll bring this to you. So maybe if you could just let us know what stream of the applied did you choose, and why you chose that particular stream, and then maybe we could follow that up with a question then.
Yeah, sure. So I started with entertainment systems, and then I switched courses to applied computing. When I enrolled, it was entertainment systems was it had the music production side of it as the elective stream, but they kind of changed the structure of the course, and applied computing was exactly the same. So the modules were exactly the same. So I'm doing exactly the same course as it was before, just under the applied umbrella. They did change the music production side of things to media development. So we did more audiovisual. We did a bit of audio production. We did a podcast with Rob. That's probably, I think, is going to get aired soon. So there's like there's a complete mix there in terms of the stream. And then obviously the more foundational programming side of things, which I'd say is more of the core focus. The electives were a nice extra.
Okay. So maybe this could probably set up the next question there that came in from the chat. So applied computing has a game development and a media development course. So what's the difference? Would you be in a position to be able to address that?
Yeah, so I guess like the same thing there with the entertainment systems, that was split into games and media. So the games would be heavily focused on just building games. I think they do a lot there. It's quite intense, not my cup of tea. I enjoy playing games, but not creating them. Whereas the media, like I said, we did Photoshop, Illustrator. I think we did some Ableton stuff, creating songs. We had like a DJ set up in the Wits Arena. It was just me and the lecturer and one other student in an empty arena because of the pandemic. But it's got a variety there. It's quite a nice mix.
Okay, very good, excellent. Maybe what we'll do is we'll come to Sharon and Niall as well, just to maybe have a point of why you chose creative and media development. So we'll come to Sharon first. Why you chose creative computing above the other programs as you came in? Why did you think that this was a good fit for you?
Yeah, so like I'd always kind of consider myself very creative, but I did like the kind of more problem solving kind of aspect of like subjects in school. So I saw this, like I was looking through all the courses, and I was like, I didn't really know what they were. But when I saw creative computing, I was like, okay, that's quite broad, and it has things that I can understand right now and things that I will be able to learn. Like I had absolutely no programming knowledge. I knew how the internet worked, but like barely knew how a computer, like the insides of a computer work. But like from the course, you get that information, but you can also be creative. Like there's a very big emphasis on your creativity as well. So it's not all piles of code, but you get your knowledge to understand that.
Okay.
That's what I really focus on.
Excellent, brilliant. And was it the course what you expected once you started?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot more computing in it than I originally thought, but I think that was just down to me seeing all the creative stuff and being like, yeah. But it definitely takes it in small steps. Like you don't need to know everything coming in. Like that was one thing I was worried about, but 100% you don't need to know everything coming in.
Okay, excellent. No, that's very good to know. And Niall then as well, I suppose just from a media development point of view, why did you choose that program and over the other programs? And was it what you expected?
So I guess I always had an interest in computers and tech, and I've always been creative. So I found the idea of being creative as well as being on a computer interesting. And the course, kind of the outline, seemed like the perfect blend of creativity and being logical. So I was glad I chose it. And I actually asked a few people about it beforehand, and they kind of explained to me that it was kind of less focus on end of semester exams and kind of more consistently working, which I kind of liked. I was never really a fan of exams, so that kind of really suited me. So I'm very glad I picked it.
Okay.
Yeah, it is more or less what I expected. The outline on the website and the perspective kind of covers it all, really. It kind of tells you it's computing and being creative. It's a good blend.
Okay, very good. So maybe like we'll probably maybe have about 10 minutes left. I want to kind of just to see if there is advice you could give your former selves before you came in. So something that you found out when you came in and started college and started your programs that you wish you knew before. Is there, maybe it might be a bit of a strange question, but it might be able to give some prospective students that are sitting, maybe watching this, a little bit more insight into, okay, what do I need to think about when I'm making that decision, So maybe we come with to Gianluca first. Again, something that maybe you could tell yourself before you started college, you wish you knew.
I think at the end of the day, you're still responsible for your own learning. So you've got to put the effort in. So there is, like, it's not completely like a cakewalk. It's not going to be like, there's going to be tough times, but it's part of the thing. It's really exciting. The lectures are incredibly helpful, and they'll do what they can to help you in, but you've also got to, put your, hold up your end of the bargain and put work in to make sure you grow and you learn and you do what you need to get through. So yeah, from day one, probably I would say.
Okay, so a good learning attitude and a good work ethic, I suppose, as you're coming in, and not to underestimate that. Okay, very good. Dominic.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Also with that, like your time management, like don't let your because it's continuously assessed. You have assignments that you constantly need to be on top of. So like my advice would just be, if you are having CA modules, definitely keep on top of them and do your bit as you go. It'll make things so much easier.
Yeah, and I think just to clarify for that, for anyone who's watching that don't understand this concept of the continuous assessment. So how some modules are assessed, a lot of modules have a form of continuous assessment, which means that there's small amounts of assessment that's carried out through the semester, and your results, your marks from that assessment contributes to your final mark at the end of the semester. So that's why it's so important to keep working on, don't be putting anything off, because if you put something off, that work just builds up and higher. So that's very important to know, Sharon. So Dominic, maybe if you could just come in on that as well, just again, what advice you could give your previous self.
The biggest piece of advice I would give my former self is to not be as worried about the continuous assessments, because what I would do is unless I had them finished, I would just constantly worry about them, and it would just constantly nag at me. So a lot of the time what I would do is either finish it on the first day, and then let's say 2 lectures later, the lecturer talks about something that I could have used in my CA or something like that to make it better. And that's what I would submit too early as well, or to have some bit of missing information. So
yeah, and I think again that's a very good point, Dominic, as well, is don't be afraid to submit early and get some feedback before a final deadline, because the lecturers are, again, they're very open to engaging and supporting the students, so Elizabeth, maybe if you could give some insights then on what you could have told your former self before you started.
Yeah, basically get things done early. Even if you just get some of it done, at least then if you go back to it, you can finish off the rest of your assignment. Don't leave things to last minute. Don't stress too much. I've an awful habit of stressing too much, and especially last semester I just stressed and worried about a lot of assignments, whether I was doing it right or will I do well, will I pass. And when I got my results, then I actually did perfectly fine. I was like, what was I stressing, putting so much pressure on myself, and still doing well in it. And time management as well. Just don't, especially with notes and stuff like that, or learning additional resources outside of college as well, especially with programming. There's YouTube videos or different websites that you can just add on additional bits to your programming, because you do learn a certain amount in lectures, but it's nice to learn extra, so you're kind of a bit more ahead of yourself in doing it. So
yeah, no, that's some excellent advice there, Elizabeth. And I think like that as well, it's once you're confident you're putting in the effort, you shouldn't really worry, you know. So just keep sure that you are putting in the effort and you get out what you put in, you know. So Dean, maybe if you had some advice for your former self.
If I was to give advice to my former self, it would be to not be afraid to kind of ask questions, because I'm the kind of person where if there's a class of like 30, 40 people and I have a question, I don't want to ask a question that people might be like, oh God, this again, you know. It's always a good thing to ask questions, because the lecturers, they'd happily repeat things 10 or 15 times over if it means you're going to understand it by the end of the class. And I suppose the biggest thing is to ask those questions with confidence. Don't feel like people are going to be talking, like saying, oh God, they have to answer this again. Just carry yourself with confidence and ask the questions you need to ask.
Okay, very good, very good. And that's a very good point, Dean. And I think that is something that needs to be understood, that the lecturers are there to support and to transfer that knowledge that they have to the students. And if it takes 100 questions and 100 times to re-explain those particular points, that's their job, and that's what they're there to do, is to give the students that knowledge. And however that is, and the students are, that you're part of the sitting that module to take that knowledge in and to understand it. So that's a very important point. Niall, then we'll just come to you last then as well, just to any particular advice that you'd give your former self.
I guess it was just to add on to about what everyone was saying about assignments, is to also kind of, particularly with a creative module like mine, is to just realize when the assignment is done and not like overworking it. Sometimes you can see someone, and I've done it myself, like they have this great piece of work and someone asks them how long they took in it and they say, oh, this took, I don't know, 20 hours or something. And just don't get too over focused on one module, and make sure you're working on all of your modules. Just time management basically, and stay on top of things, I guess.
Okay, very good. I think that probably brings us to the end of this discussion. We're a little bit early, but I don't think there's any other questions there. We should be fine. Is there anything else anyone would like to share with the students or with the rest of the panel? No? Okay. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to thank you all for a very engaging discussion. You shared some very, very informative points. I hope anyone listening, you've, I suppose, got a lot from this panel, the insights from the students that are on our programs as well, and it can help you make decisions on where you want to carry out your studies as you go into the next part of your careers and your studies. I'd like to bring that to a close then as well. So again, thanks everyone for joining. Listening. We can ask questions and take questions again still through the chat function for the rest of the day. We have videos on each of the programs as well available on the website, so you can watch the videos. You can get a little bit more insight onto the programs as well. And again, we're here to answer questions and provide insights on our programs as well, so we're here to talk. Okay, I think that's everything then. Olive is back there.
Yeah, that's it. The other thing to remind people is there's also underneath the live stream, there's also a link to our courses, which link to our courses pages on the website, and they have lots of rich information on each of the courses, the modules, and there's a stories tab on each of them, which outlines some of the stories of our students and graduates. So it'll give people a good flavour, as well as what they heard here today. It'll give people a much deeper flavour of each of the courses. And if you don't get to ask your live chat question today, or you're watching this on record, we've got Ask WIT on the website all of the time, and there's course questions on each of the pages. So we're always answering those questions. So keep them coming in today, or right up until you're making that decision on the 1st of July. So that's it. Thanks, folks. Lovely to see you all. A lovely chat. Niall in particular, because we know you really well.
How are you?
Our marketing office, so big shout out to you. And you were fabulous on your internship with us. So yeah, thanks guys. We'll flick over now and get ready for the next meeting, if that's okay, Alan. And thank you very much for hosting the last two sessions. It was excellent.
And thanks very much, students. Very much enjoyed the participation there. So thank you. Thanks very much. Okay.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Olive.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody. We're the last session ended a couple of minutes early, so we are just letting everybody in and settling down. Make sure your cameras are on and you can mute and unmute your buttons.
Can I see everyone on the street? Is everybody in, Olive? No.
People are popping in now, right up to the last minute. So lots of you have come early. So thank you very much for that. Just a couple of housekeeping issues for those just joining the live stream on our website. Just to say welcome both to the full panel and those watching live, and to say that you can stop and pause and roll back the video feed at any time. Should you have missed something really exciting, or should you have to go out and get a cup of coffee yourself. Also, we will be putting this up on this website, open.wit.ie. We also have a website called ask.wit.ie. That's there all of the time. This video and other course videos exist there all the time, and all the videos from our previous open days. So lots of really, really rich information. The other thing to note is right under this stream, you'll see a live chat. So please ask any questions you like there, and our live chat team will be answering them throughout the day. And I'll also be popping those into Orla, into Eleanor, who's going to be moderating this chat. So she's going to ask you the full panel any of those questions that are popping in. The other thing is you'll see that there's a courses tab underneath. So that's got lots of lovely, rich information. So you can peruse the various course information. And similarly, there's a video section, and you can have a look at that for a previous open day. Lots of videos on lots of our courses. So that brings us up to 11:30.
Olive, could I just check, is there anybody else? Is Nabla Kennedy in the waiting room?
No, I have cleared through the waiting room, but it'll pop up for me. Oh, there she is. Bang on time. So Eleanor, I am going to hand over to you. I'm going to mute myself and hide myself, and just to say thanks again, everybody, for.
Should I be doing the same, Eleanor?
Sorry?
Should I be coming off this, I thought I was monitoring a chat. I don't know what I'm doing, to be honest with you.
Okay. Grant.
What do you think? Yep.
Yeah, okay. Is Claire Lennon there as well? She's there somewhere, I think.
Yeah. I can pop in and out if you want, whatever. If you want to ask me any questions, I'm sure I can answer them. Yep.
That's perfect, Orla. Thank you.
Great.
Hello, everybody. You're very welcome to this discussion, question and answer session for the lab sciences here in WIT. And we're going to discuss this morning common entry science, both the level 7 and the level 8, molecular biology with biopharmaceutical science, level 7 and level 8, food science to include food science with business and food science and innovation, pharmaceutical science, level 7 and level 8, and physics for modern technology. So before we start this discussion and question and answer session, I just get our panel to introduce themselves and just to say the program that they're representing, and also for the students to just introduce themselves and again say which program they're registered on. So if we start with Evelyn.
Hi, my name is Dr. Evelyn Landers, and I am Program Leader for the Common Level 8 and Common Level 7 entry programs.
Thanks, Evelyn. Helen?
Hello, my name is Dr. Helen Hughes, and I'm one of the course leaders in the BSc in Pharmaceutical Science.
Thanks, Helen. Elaine?
Hi, my name is Elaine Duggan, and I am the course leader for the food science programs here in WIT.
Thank you. Claire?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Claire Keary, and I'm course leader on the BSc Honours in Physics for Modern Technology.
And Nabla?
Hi, I'm Nabla Kennedy, and I am the program leader for molecular biology with biopharmaceutical science programs.
Thanks, Nabla. And now to our students, Luke.
Hi, I'm Luke Foran. I'm studying physics for modern technology, and I'm in 3rd year.
Thanks, Luke. Caitlin?
Yeah, my name is Keiti Young. I usually go by Caitlin, and I'm a final year food science and innovation student.
Thank you. Gary?
Hello, I'm Gary Hogan. I'm in molecular biology with biopharmaceutical science, and I'm in 4th year.
Thank you. And Owen?
Hi, my name is Owen Dowdy and I'm a final year student studying pharmaceutical science.
Great, thanks Owen. So we're just going to go through the programs and ask a few typical questions that you as a student coming to WIT might ask at our normal open days. And then we're going to just ask the students on the program some questions about their experience to date. So Evelyn, if we could start with you, because you're in charge of or you look after, I should say, the common entry. So you kind of meet all the students when they come to WIT first. So maybe you just tell us a little bit about what common entry is and what it entails and what the options are, please.
Sure, Eleanor. Well, Common Entry Science, I suppose, is a program that keeps your options open. So for a student who is studying science at the moment and they have a keen interest in a couple of areas of science, or perhaps they're only exposed to one science subject in their secondary school and they'd like to check out maybe a different area before they commit to a specific stream. So Common First Entry then exposes you to all the sciences, that is the biology, the chemistry, the physics and the maths. And over the course of the year then, you're introduced to different elective modules that gives you a flavour of the different programmes that are on offer. And we hope that this helps you make up your mind so you're in a stronger position then to choose a programme at the end of your first year. So the Common Entry is actually a one-year programme. So after the 1 year, then you feed into one of the 4 progression streams if you're on the Level 8 programme, and there are 3 progression streams for the Level 7 programme.
Thanks, Evelyn. And I suppose one question that people do ask is, if I haven't studied, and this is probably be across the other programs as well, if I haven't studied chemistry or physics at Leaving Cert, is that going to be an issue for me? Will I be able for the programs if I put them on my CAO form?
Well, certainly that is something that worries students hugely when they start off with us. But we recognise that students take maybe just 1 or 2 science subjects for the Leaving Cert. So in semester 1, really, it's a catch-up year, if you like. So we introduce these subjects of chemistry, biology, physics at an introductory level. So we presume that you have a background at junior cert level, and we kind of start from there. And we include the material that is essential for our programs going forward. So we don't cover the whole Leaving Cert program per se, but we cover the areas of it that are important for our programs. And we offer supports then. We have within the department over time, we've developed a first year support scheme. So this scheme offers academic support to students who may be struggling with a new area of science. They haven't done it for the Leaving Cert before. So we set up one-on-one tuition with them, with a postgraduate student that's in the department. So we offer that support as well. And as also weekly, we do tutorials weekly in each of these subjects where you're in small class groups with a supervisor. These tutorials are generally done online, but there's a lot of interaction with your supervisor. So we hope that all of these supports help you to gain confidence in these new subjects fairly quickly. And generally then when people come into semester 2, they feel much more confident in these areas, and everybody's starting really from the same background.
Great. And just one last question there for the moment, Evelyn. If I do come into Common Entry and I want to do science, what would, how many hours a week would I be expected to be engaged with the program?
Okay, so there are 6 modules that you would be studying, and these modules will combine to give like 28 hours per week. The 4 of these hours are the tutorial hours, which are kind of extra hours, if you like, but they're the most beneficial of hours to students. So while the load seems high, 4 hours a week are in tutorials, and then 6 hours a week are devoted to lab, to practicals.
Okay, Evelyn, thanks for the moment. So we can come back if any questions. I know our colleague Claire Lennon and Dr. O'Donovan are actually monitoring the chat as well. So if anybody has any specific questions, you can type them into the live chat, and we can actually either take them here at the end. Maybe Claire can come on at the end, and we can discuss them then. Take those questions. Okay, and Nabla, could you tell us about molecular biology with biopharmaceutical science? There's 2 programs there, level 7 and level 8. If you could just give us an overview, please.
No problem, Eleanor. That's right. There is a level 7 degree that's available in 2 pathways. The first is the common entry, and the second is a direct entry into the molecular biology with biopharmaceutical science. That's a 3-year degree. And after that, our graduates can either go into work, or they could go on, if they successfully pass the level 7, they can go on and proceed to the 4th year of our level 8. We do also have a level 8 program that's entered through the common entry that Evelyn was just talking to you about that there.
Okay, and can you, and I know some people ask these questions, so you can actually go from the level 7 onto the level 8 program?
Yes, indeed. As long as you successfully completed the level 7 after the 3 years, then you can proceed to the 4th year and final year of the level 8.
Okay, and what is the difference between the level 7 and the level 8?
Well, there's a 3-year versus a 4-year program. Another major difference would be that the level 8 degree has work placement in 2nd semester of the 3rd year. The level 7 doesn't, but we haven't found that to be a problem. In fact, there are some really beneficial modules in the 3rd year of the level 7 that I think really stand to graduates, and or if students go on to their 4th year. And we have had great employment from both programs throughout the number of years that we've been running them. So.
Okay, that's very good. What kind of jobs, what kind of jobs do graduates go into after they've finished the program?
They go into mainly the biopharmaceutical or the biomedical industries, medical devices. So there's a lot of industry in that area, in the Waterford area. So we've got companies like Sanofi, West, Airgen, Servier, Source Bioscience. So most of our graduates would go in there, but we do also have graduates that go on to further research. And we have some research here at WIT and also other places. And then a number of our graduates would also go into the food or environmental industries.
Okay, thank you. And is there any particular, research that's going on at the moment that one of our graduates or one of your graduates would have progressed onto?
Yeah, we have a graduate from a few years back that's up in Queen's University, Belfast, and doing some very interesting research on vaccines, actually, not the COVID vaccine, but a different one. So that's very topical. And we also have graduates from last year that have gone on to do agricultural milk research with the TSSG. So that's focusing on the genetics of milk production in cows. So.
Great, Nabla. That's thanks for the moment. I know, Claire, there may be a few questions come in later on. Gary, you're a student of the molecular biology with biopharmaceutical science. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about, why you chose that program, and I suppose really why you chose WIT.
Well, I suppose WIT thing was definitely a geographical thing. I'm a mature student, as you can probably tell, and I've got family and kids and mortgages and stuff, so there wasn't really other option, but I'm glad I did. I'm glad it was the only option. In terms of the course itself, I was always interested in biology at school. Really had a real interest in it, as opposed to chemistry or physics. And I did the common entry that Evelyn spoke about, and it really it was a major. It helped so much because I hadn't been in a classroom in 20 odd years, I suppose, and it kind of the first semester in particular was really important because it kind of showed that I could do it, and it helped kind of push on, I suppose, So I would say the first semester of I'm fortunate now. The first semester was nearly 4 years ago. It's hard to believe, but it's all about building a foundation, So I kind of build and build and build, and that's what's going on to this day. But the course itself is I'm particularly interested in genetics, and it was touched on a bit up to 3rd year, but since I've started 4th year, it's been it's really kind of taken hold of me. I'd love to do some work in that area. I don't know how I'm going to find work in that area, to be honest, but it's the best thing I've ever done, to be honest. It's the hardest thing I've ever done too, I won't lie, but I just I suppose I will say about the course, I needed help, and from not just lecturers, fellow students and stuff. And when I asked for help, I got it. The lecturers were always there, fantastic, and and my fellow students have been amazing as well, because it wasn't easy to walk into a classroom with people half your age. But I will say that to a man and woman that I've met in WIT, everyone has been amazing. I'm going to be sad to leave, actually. I hope that answers your question.
That's great, Gary. Well, we mightn't let you go. Nabla might find something else for you to continue on with. So that's great. Thanks for that, Gary. Thank you. Elaine, I just want to talk to Elaine Duggan now about our food science programs, and I suppose that the food science with business and indeed the food science with innovation. So maybe, Elaine, you could tell us a little bit about the food science programs on offer.
Yeah, sure. We have 2 food science programs. So as you've just said, Eleanor, we have a level 7 food science with business, and you can get entry through that through direct entry, or also through the common entry that Evelyn was talking about for the level 7. And then we have a food science with innovation, which is a level 8 degree, again through the common entry science that Evelyn was talking about for the level 8. I suppose in terms of the differences between the 2 programs, they're common for the first 3 years. So the big difference, I suppose, with our level 7 food science program is that we do actually have a placement in year 3. And I know Nabla was saying that she has found that it doesn't hinder her students at all. We have a different approach, I suppose, and the food science students definitely get a huge benefit from the placement in year 3, both the level 7s and the level 8s, and it helps them to focus on what they would want to do in their future career, perhaps, maybe in terms of what they do want to do, or equally what they don't want to do. And it puts a lot of what they've been doing in college in terms of the modules into context for them, because when they see it in a real life situation. So the placement really is a really beneficial part of both of our programs.
Great. And some question that, that another question that pops up a lot is, the business bit. Is there a lot of business in the program?
There isn't really. So the name of the program is Food Science with Business. So this means that there is much less emphasis on the business aspect rather than the science aspect. And we assume that you don't have any business coming in. So, you don't start any of the business modules until 2nd year. And we take you very much baby steps in terms of teaching you from the ground up to ensure that everybody is at the same level. It is not a business degree, it's very much a science degree with some business aspects in it. And both of them, in both of the programs, the business aspects really are to kind of round your education for working in the food industry, in any aspect of the food industry.
Okay, very good. And I suppose another common question that crops up is, if I do this program, can I do dietetics afterwards? Yeah.
Okay. Dietetics is very much, what's the word they use for dietetics? It's a protected term. So there are only 2 courses in Ireland that you can become a dietitian from, and none of the courses are food science, so they're all dietetics degrees. However, we have had students in the past, there's actually one from last year's class, can go on and do a master's in human nutrition and dietetics. You may need to do an additional module or 2 to boost some of your background knowledge before you can get onto a master's, but you can then go on to do a master's in UL or UCC in human nutrition and dietetics.
Okay, thank you. And just one last question there. What kind of jobs do students or graduates get from the 2 programs?
So our students go into all aspects of the food industry. They're very, very employable, so they can go into production, they can go into QA and QC, so in terms of food safety, they can go into the regulatory side, any aspect, and some students go then into more environmental aspects. So any aspect of the food industry, our graduates are highly employable and tend to get jobs very, very quickly on graduation.
Okay, thank you. And if I just turn to Caitlin, then one of the students, the 4th year students in the food science and innovation, Caitlin, I suppose a question, what are the highlights to date of your time in WIT so far? What would you consider?
I say definitely the placement, like Elaine said there, like it's definitely like eye-opening in a sense, because like we always been learning like different stuff throughout the module, like the course, but like you never really know how it's applied. And then like once you go into it, you kind of like, oh, this is how it's used and all that kind of stuff, you know. So you get to see like the real life application of certain things that you've been taught throughout. So that was really interesting. And then I really enjoyed my final year right now, because just the idea of making a new product and bring it to life, like an idea to like an actual product, is interesting. Like I know we missed out a lot with the whole pandemic and all, but like still enjoyed the process, although we are not able to present it like a proper product to everyone. So
okay, very good. Yeah, I know you're very involved in that program at the moment, and in the product innovation. So it's a real active part of the program. What are you planning to do after college, Caitlin, or have you thought about that?
I don't really have a really like set kind of target or like goal in mind. Don't really know what I want to do yet, but like I am interested to further my studies, maybe do a master or a PhD if the opportunity arises, depending. But like might get a job as well, or like, you know, work for a few years, come back to further my studies. Yeah. Still not sure yet, honestly.
Yeah. And have you enjoyed your time in WIT?
Yeah, I did, definitely.
Great. Okay, thanks, Caitlin. Helen, if we just come to you in terms of the pharmaceutical science programs, the level 7 and the level 8 program, if you could just tell us a little bit about those programs, please.
Yeah, indeed, Eleanor. Much the same as the food and the bio program, we have both level 7 and level 8. We have direct entry in both of those programs, and we also have through the common entry route. The difference between them really is that the level 7 doesn't do work placement. They do project work instead at WIT and some other modules. And then the level 8 do have work placement, and it's very well established at this stage in industry.
Okay, and so that is kind of the difference between the level 7 and 8, is one doesn't have the work placement, the other does. Yeah, a question that comes up a lot, I suppose, and you know, this is in relation to pharmacy, and is this something I could go on and do after studying the pharmaceutical science program?
Well, it's certainly not a pharmacy degree. So pharmacy is about dispensing medicines, whereas pharmaceutical science is really about manufacturing them, testing them, making the drug products and the medicinal products and medical devices and that. So you wouldn't automatically be able to go on and do a pharmacy degree. You might have some modules that you've already covered that you'll get exemptions from in a pharmacy degree, but it's not a route towards pharmacy.
Okay, so what kind of jobs do graduates get on after doing the program?
Okay, well, we have a large variety of different job opportunities coming out of the pharmaceutical program, and students have gone on to work in the pharmaceutical industry, such as Airgen, which actually one of the founding members is one of our ex-students from the pharmaceutical science program. And then they get work in the biopharmaceutical industry, such as Sanofi, medical device such as Bausch & Lomb, making contact lenses, that sort of idea, testing them, of course, regulatory affairs, making sure that everything is done correctly according to all the guidelines. Some of our students have gone on into teaching. Quite a few of them have gone on to do research, both in WIT and nationally, and even one of our students carried out some of his research in NASA, so that shows that the world is your limit really from this degree. So yeah, we've had a huge variety of different opportunities coming out of the degree, and it just depends on what you want to do, and you may change your mind as you go through the 4 years. And of course, a basic degree then, which you will get out of this honours degree, just opens the door for you in terms of doing a master's to change your direction or to slightly go in a different direction, or of course, research programs such as a PhD, or if you're happy to go to industry.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Helen. I'm conscious that there are some questions coming into the chat, and I'll ask Claire Lennon when this part of the session is over to come on and maybe direct those questions. Owen, you're a student of the level 8 pharmaceutical science program. Yeah. So maybe if you could just tell us a little bit about your placement and where you did the placement and what you did.
So the placement that occurs in year 3, that was actually the biggest selling point for the course in general to me, because I know with graduates come out with some of the best hands-on experience out of most colleges. So I really wanted to avail to that opportunity. And for me personally, my placement occurred in Bosch and Lawn in Waterford, just down the road from the college. So within that, even though COVID did occur, so that kind of did spoil the experience, but they still kind of kept me on for the 6 months. So I got some hands-on experience, but the most of what occurred for me was just training, like pipette training, basic training, analytical balance, and then some pH. I didn't get to do the full experience, but overall it was very enjoyable, and I'm hoping it will stick to me come the end of my course when I do eventually go out into industry.
Okay. What are you planning to do, Owen, or have you thought about that?
So I'm planning to graduate, and then after I graduate, I'm hoping to go into industry for a few years, get a foot in the door, come back, and then hopefully apply for a master's, carry out that, and then after a master's, on the fence what I want to do a PhD. I don't know if I can commit to that level of education, but I'll definitely at least go for a master's.
Okay. And have you enjoyed your time in WIT?
Oh, definitely. Just from the friends you make along the way, and then the experiences that develop, and then just with the lecturers themselves, it's just been, I can't fault it at all along the way.
That's a great one. Thanks very much for that. And we'll come back. Just one question that people might ask really, and I suppose it's for Nabla and Helen. The difference between, say, pharmaceutical science and then, say, molecular biology with biopharmaceutical science. Nabla, do you want to just take that first, and then I'll go to Helen. Like, if I'm trying to make up my mind which one of the programs, or what is the difference? Like, how do you differentiate between the two?
Well, the biology program is obviously a lot more biology based, and pharmaceutical science would have more of a chemical base. And they are similar in the analytical modules that they take, but the chemistry, for example, where in third year biology might start going into molecular biology, in second year it's biochemistry. Helen, your students be more into physical and inorganic chemistry. So it really is just more of a focus on biology versus chemistry for the pharma science. Would you agree, Helen?
I would indeed, yeah. And I think the best advice to give a student that is saying, I don't know which route to go, is to come in through the common entry and have the experience of first year, and then make your decision at the end of first year when you have a lot more knowledge on it. And that's probably the best thing. We do have a lot of modules in common, actually. All of first year is more or less in common. There's quite a few analytical modules. Most of the biopharmaceutical modules are all common modules between the pharmaceutical program and the molecular biology program. Even third year, we have spec, quality, all the quality, the reg affairs, all of that is in common all the way through. So it really is more an emphasis on biology in the molecular biology course, and more an emphasis on chemistry. But as I said, there's a lot of overlap between them. And if you are unsure, the best advice, if I was meeting students at Open Day, I would say to them, use the common entry route if you're not sure, and if you want to have a little bit of leeway in making your decision. And that's what it's there for, really.
Great. Thanks, Nabla. Thanks, Helen. So now if I come to Claire, and I suppose the first question is, right, what is the BSc in Physics for Modern Technology? If you just want to give us an overview, Claire, please.
Sure, Eleanor. So the BSc Honours in Physics for Modern Technology is a Level 8 programme. And unlike a lot of the other programmes, we only offer a Level 8 programme in physics. So this is another option on the Honours common entry route. So you come into first year, everything is common for the first semester, as Evelyn said earlier. And then in the second semester, you have the option to take some electives. So based on I guess, your experience of the physics in first semester, you might decide to take the physics elective, and then this will allow people to make, what we would consider a well-informed decision as to where you go in second semester, or excuse me, in second year. So once you get into second year, then a lot of the modules that are taken are modules that are shared on degree programs in other departments. So, for example, you would be taking modules with computing students and also with engineering students. So it's really an interdisciplinary course. It provides students with an understanding of the physics underlying modern technologies, such as semiconductors, optics and photonics, alternative energy, instrumentation and sensor systems. And it's designed to provide students with strong and complementary skills in physics, obviously, but also in the area of engineering, mathematics, and programming. Graduates develop a range of transferable skills that are valued and indeed much sought after by industry.
Thanks, Claire. I suppose in terms of job opportunities after studying a degree in physics, what options would I have?
Yeah, this is a question that we're always asked at Open Day. And the thing with the physics degree is that there are a very wide variety of career paths. So there's a whole range of different sectors that employ physics graduates. And as a physics graduate, you could be working as, for example, maybe a medical physicist. You could be a process engineer. You might work as an astrophysicist, a meteorologist, a failure analysis engineer, particle physicist. These are just some of the job titles that a lot of our graduates have. And in terms of the sectors that people would work in, sectors like the semiconductor sector, so companies that take a lot of our graduates and indeed students on work placement would include Analog Devices and Intel as well. But a lot of our students get jobs and indeed go on work placement in, for example, the medical device sector. So Bausch & Lomb here in Waterford, Shivo in Waterford also take many of our students on work placement and indeed graduates. So we've also had students that have worked. We had a student a number of years ago that did his placement at the European Space Agency. He and indeed a number of our students went on to do a master's in space science at UCD. We have students that, a number of students at the moment in recent years are working in Holland in a company called ASML, which make these huge photolithography systems for the semiconductor sector. So there's a whole range of different sectors that employ physics graduates.
Thanks, thanks, Claire. And you did mention the work placement there as well. I suppose what's coming out of our conversations here and listening to all the different companies you're talking about, we do have strong industry links with all the companies in the region. You've mentioned a number of companies, which is great. Yeah.
And actually, one thing, could I just add something? It's interesting listening to the other students, and I know Luke will talk on behalf of the physics degree as well, but what's coming across from a lot of students is the value of the work placement. And I guess one thing that we can do, we can teach an awful lot of the science, we can teach an awful lot of the techniques, we can do project work and all of that. But there's a lot of stuff that students benefit from in work placement that we just can't teach, in terms of the working as part of a group. And even when students come back, they talk about the fact of attending meetings and, it's very much a confidence building exercise as well, I think, for students, that they feel that, that students become a member of a particular project team or whatever in a company, and they realize that they can make a contribution, even though they haven't actually graduated, but also that they can see that a lot of the skills that they have learned are, as we call them, transferable skills and do transfer to the workplace.
That's great, Claire. Thanks a million for that. And Luke, we'll just come to you for a minute now. So where did you do your work placement?
So I'm doing my work placement in Shivo Medical at the moment, which is just down the road from WIT in the industrial estate. Claire mentioned it there. So I'm basically, my day-to-day activities are just trialing and testing products in clean rooms. So trying different materials, different ways of making them and stuff like that. And then recording my findings and sending that out to the different companies, and they can review it then if they'd like to, which method suits their preferred way of making the products, and then coordinating with the quality insurance and quality controls to make sure things are inspected properly and kept to a high standard.
Great. And Luke, did you always want to do physics, or why did you choose to do physics?
I was between doing physics and engineering when I was in Leaving Cert, and I always really enjoyed doing physics, and because I live in Tramore, so going to WIT was very convenient for me, and the science department had a good reputation in WIT, so I decided to do physics because of that, and because this course as well has a lot of transferable skills in the sense of engineering and programming and maths. So we do quite a bit of our modules with the computing classes and the engineering classes as well. So you get to do a little bit of all of those modules as well, which is quite fun.
Okay, that's good. I know we have a number of questions in, and I'm actually conscious of time as well, so we will get to the questions just in, actually we'll probably just get to do the questions now. Claire, do you want to come on, and because I know you've been monitoring the chat there, and maybe if you just want to direct some of the questions to our panelists.
Yeah, Eleanor, I suppose some of the questions are around kind of the timetables and practicals and the schedule of the courses. So there's 2 questions related to pharmaceutical science. How many hours a week is the direct entry pharmaceutical science course? And then related to that, maybe how many hours are spent in the lab in the pharmaceutical course? So maybe if
Helen, do you want to take that? Yeah.
Yeah, as Evelyn said, there's 28 hours contact in first year, and you have practicals associated with that. As you go forward, then for second, third, and fourth years, 24 to 26 hours by and large, depending on which semester you're in. And mostly we have about 4 labs per week, so you might be 10 to 12 hours per week in the lab. But that's just a rough estimate of where you are, yeah. But you generally do have about 4 modules for second and third year in particular that you do labs in, and a little bit less in fourth year. But then there's the huge project, which is normally, apart from COVID, is 10 hours a week in the lab on the actual project element.
Orla, do you have any questions there?
Yep. Yeah, so there was a few questions in. One was about in relation to research, what was the research opportunities, and then going on to be a lecturer afterwards. So we just kind of expanded on that sometimes people remain in research because they find it so interesting, or they could move into industry, or indeed into academia. And then an interesting one was somebody was saying that while they were interested in science, they were also interested in Spanish. And is there an opportunity to go to Spain? So it was highlighted, while we have got connections with France with regards to placements, we're always interested in our students, traveling abroad. There is an Erasmus program, obviously, that they can participate in. And indeed, we could try and source through the International Office a suitable placement in Spain. And we would always encourage that to kind of have a more international profile. There was a question in relation to environmental science, which we will probably address on the next platform because it's more suitable to the land sciences area.
Great, Orla, thanks. Claire, was there anything else that you picked up on?
There was another question related to food science, and again back to the kind of the schedule in food science, and it was what percentage of the lectures in food science and innovation would be practical?
It would be the same as the pharmaceutical. Most of our science programs really would have the same kind of split between practical based and theory based, so lecture based. So depending on which semester, the same as Helen said for the pharmaceutical, depending which semester you might have different lab hours. So maybe in one semester you might have 3 labs in a week, and maybe in the next semester you might have 4 labs a week. Typically our labs are either 2 or 3 hours, depending on the module. So, you'd have, pretty much kind of 12 hours maybe a week in practical based. In fourth year, then it might be a little bit different because we have a food product development project that kind of runs over the whole year. In the first semester, it's much more theory based and not really much practical experience, whereas in the second semester, we would typically have 12 hours a week in labs and kitchens for producing and analysing the food products that the students develop.
Great, Elaine, thanks for that. Now I've got a kind of a little cue to say that we have only 3 minutes left, but so I don't want to leave the session. I suppose first and foremost I should say there's lots more information. This is only, I suppose looking back on types of questions that you would have asked had you come to our open day. But there's lots of more information on our website. And you'll find contact details of all the program leaders there. But I don't want to finish without having our 4 students maybe, really, I suppose, tell an incoming student why they should come to WIT. So if the four of you want to unmute yourself, and maybe one of you just, you know, like, why would you sell your program and, you know, coming to WIT to any of the people who are watching the video at the moment?
Want me to start?
Gary, you start. Yeah. That's
okay. I'll just say, if you have any interest in the subject at all, the atmosphere and the people you'll meet and the lecturers and the level of, I don't know, the level of professionalism you'll come across, and you know, it's just, as I said before, it's the best thing I've ever done. My son's hoping to go to WIT in September, and I'm pushed him hard to go to WIT because I can only tell him, he's not doing science, but I can only tell him from the science department, they've been phenomenal, and I'm really glad I've done it. And thank you.
Great, Gary. Thank you. Luke?
Yeah, I have to agree with what Gary said there about the science department being really professional, really well organized, and like I found interacting with the lecturers really, really good, especially with my class has been quite small, so communicating with lecturers has been so easy. So if there's any questions at all, it's always been really, really easy and nice that way. And also, if anyone is anyway interested in any sort of technology or kind of thinking about the future of science and things like that, I think this course is really, really perfect for them.
Great, thanks, Luke. Caitlin?
Yeah, I still agree with all of them. Like, the Department of Science is brilliant. I actually really like the science department. And then, yeah, if you're interested in food and science, welcome to food science then, because like it is a really good course and I really do enjoy every part of the journey. Like,
thanks, Caitlin. And Owen, we'll leave the last comment to you.
Yeah, I've never had a complaint at all being here. This is the highest level of professionalism that I know of. And again, if you have any interest in the future, definitely look to WIT. Never been a problem. The atmosphere is just welcoming, and it's just so great. And it's just, you'll make good memories along the way. So I would highly recommend coming to it.
Great, thanks, Owen. Evelyn, do you want to finish up with anything? And then I think time is up. Would you like to say anything? Just why should they come to WIT?
Yeah, well, it's great to hear that from our students because we strive very hard from day one to settle them into the department and make them feel part of a group or a family. And we hope we come across like that. While we're very professional, we're also very open to help students with, you know, academic problems and direct them towards supports if they need supports in their lifestyle issues and things like that. Also, I suppose our staff are relatively young and very dedicated and interested in what they're doing, and a lot of them are involved in research. So they try to bring that research into the material that they're covering in class. So we hope that the courses are engaging and so on. While I know.
Okay, so just one last question. What's special about, one word from each program leader, what's special about your course? Just been asked to ask that. Claire, okay, I see you're going.
Okay, yeah, I could just say in terms
just
of
very quickly, what's special about your course?
Physics course, probably like it is a physics degree, but in terms of just the interdisciplinary nature, the fact, and as Luke has said as well, the fact that there's, you know, they get the engineering flavour, the programming and computing flavour as well.
Great, lovely, thanks. Nabla?
It's just a great time to study biology. I think it's very interesting now, especially with the current situation and all vaccines and whatnot. We do, as Evelyn just mentioned, we've got a research underpinning. Almost all our staff are research active. We also have our work placement, study abroad, and there's a lot of support for our students.
Okay, thanks, Nabla. Elaine?
I could just say, who doesn't love food? It is fundamental to everything we do. We need food, and the science behind it is really, really interesting. So there's a huge amount of aspects, and obviously the food industry is thriving in Ireland and hopefully always will. So graduates really, you know, are trained for that. So,
and Helen?
From the pharmaceutical science degree, I think it's close to 100% employment, and it just opens up doors. The variety that you can go in, the many different directions you can go from the degree, just means that you're not limited in any way, shape or form.
Okay, so just before I finish and thank everybody, I just our head of department, Dr. Orla O'Donovan, want to add anything?
No, I'd just like to thank everybody for being on the platform today, especially to the students. It's great to get such great feedback. And it does acknowledge the hard work that the staff does put in. We've got great links in with industry. We want to make sure that we are very relevant and that our graduates are work ready as soon as they graduate. And I think that we find that a lot. And there is a very good interaction, probably because we are lab-based and we have a lot of practical classes, and that we have a lot of interaction with the students. And I think that the students will find all staff approachable, while still, as you say, very professional and ensuring that the programs are delivered in the best way possible. So I'd like to thank you all today for coming on the platform and for such positive feedback.
Great, thanks Orla. And I just want to reiterate that again, because I see Oliver's probably telling us to say goodbye. So thanks everybody, particularly the students. Thanks for all your great comments, and thanks to the staff for being available as well. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye now.
Bye now.
Everyone.
So if Orla and Eleanor could stay on, because you're possibly moderating between you the next session, which is land sciences. Just before we flick into that, I'd like to remind everybody watching that we have a underneath this is the live chat. If you want to put any of your questions into the live chat at any stage, do so, and we'll be moderating those and popping those into the panel members. Also, there's videos for previous live chats, which you can peruse at your leisure, and do absolutely click into the course pages, because there's lots of very, very rich information there. And for those of you who are watching this live, you can also ask your questions on YouTube, although it's easier on the live chat underneath this. But I am picking up the questions on YouTube also, and we'll be answering those. You can pause it at any stage if you need a cup of coffee. And if you want to watch back, you'll see it on this webpage, which is open.wit.ie, and you'll also see it on our ask.wit.ie. If you have any questions after the live chat, we're always online. Well, not really at the weekends, but we will pick them up first thing Monday morning and answer your questions. So you can ask on the Ask WIT button at any stage. So we're always here to answer your questions. So if you have any now, pop them into the live chat and we'll ask the panel in the next 45 minutes. So with that, I'm going to hand over to you, Orla. I think you're moderating this session, is that correct?
I just want to, first of all, check to make sure all of your sound is not good. And I'm wondering, is it the platform or is it just you? Can everybody hear me clearly? Yeah.
I can hear you clearly, yeah.
I think it's just Olive, yeah.
Okay, that's great.
That's my key to go.
That's your key to go to chat, yeah. So I'd like to welcome everybody here today. We are going to talk about the land science programs in the Department of Science. I'm Dr. Orla O'Donovan, and I'm the head of Department of Science, and I'd like to welcome all here today. So who we have here is, we have Michael Breen, from the agricultural science degree. We also have Cara Daly and Yvonne Grace from the horticulture. We are waiting on Tom Kent for forestry, so hopefully he will be joining us also, and Tony Woodcock will be joining us for the agriculture. A lot of our land science programs are actually delivered in conjunction with Teagasc. And with us, we have today two people from Kildalton College, who co-deliver our programs with us. And I'd like to welcome Damien Fewer and Grania McMahon from Teagasc. So what I would also like to welcome is, I would like to welcome the students that are here with us today. So we have Ian Hutchinson from forestry, and Ian is might be our only representative from forestry, so we'll be depending a lot on you there, Ian, so no pressure. We also have Niall Roach, who's here from agriculture, and we have Amy Caldbeck, who is here for the agricultural science. So I will start off by maybe asking you all just to maybe introduce yourself. So I'll start off with Michael Breen. So just if you give a brief overview of, you know, your program and what it involves and so on, Michael.
Thanks, Orla. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Breen, as Orla said. I'm the program leader for the Agricultural Science program, the Level 8 program in WIT. So we have a very good program in agricultural science, which was developed about 10 years ago. A very popular program. We've a high level of number of students on the program, all coming in with good points and doing very well on the program. So as the name suggests, we have science, especially in the first few years of the program itself. And then in second year, the students have a nice mix. They head out to Kildalton to do some of the production modules, and then as well as having the science in WIT itself. When the students move on to third year, they end up going on placement, which is the excellent opportunity for students, so they can do industrial placement or farm placement. And a lot of our students head off to New Zealand or go to work for Teagasc or some of the big agri-food companies. And then in fourth year, students finish off and they end up with finishing out on their thesis, on their projects, and do some excellent work there. So overall, it's a very good general ag science degree. Students get exposure to business, they get exposure to marketing, entrepreneurship, to food, to science, genetics. So overall, excellent program, and gives students a very good qualification before they enter the workforce.
That's great. Thank you, Michael. If you don't mind now, I might move to Damien. Damien, just if you might give a brief overview of the agriculture programme, which is delivered with Kildalton College, just to give us a little bit of a taste of what that involves.
Yeah, thanks, Orla. So the agriculture programme is a 3-year programme. Kildalton delivered that in conjunction with WIT. From a Kildalton point of view, say in first year, students will be in Kildalton maybe 3 or 3.5 days a week. You're covering modules like mechanisation, animal breeding and welfare, there's tillage, animal biology, some mechanisation. In second year, students would do some more of the agricultural production modules. They'll do dairy, beef and sheep. In second year, students get a chance to go on placement. So agriculture students do a 12-week farm placement in the second semester in second year. In third year, I suppose it's more, the modules are more delivered by WIT. Again, they're some of the more business and science are delivered by WIT, and Kildalton will deliver maybe one of the farm business modules. There is an add-on then, that's a 3-year, your level 7 3-year program, and you can go on and do an add-on to get your level 8 in land management.
That's great. Thank you so much, Damien. And I think it's important to say that when we are looking at the programs, the first program that was outlined there was by Michael Breen, and that is a level 8 4-year honours degree. In the case of the agriculture, horticulture and forestry, these are 3-year level 7 degrees, but in all cases you can go on to do a 4th add-on year, which is the BSc in land science in either agriculture, horticulture or forestry, in order to get your level 8 honours degree. We might now move to just to talk a little bit about the horticulture programme. If either Cara or Yvonne wants to come on, maybe initially if Cara outlines the programme, and then what we might have is we might talk a little bit to Grania about the involvement of Kildalton College with that horticulture programme, and then indeed to Yvonne, who is the programme leader for the parallel programme, which is run in conjunction with Botanic Gardens. So maybe initially Cara.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Orla. Thanks. My name's Cara Daly, and I'm the program leader for the BSc in Horticulture. And like Orla mentioned, we have the course in 2 locations, so either in the Botanic Gardens or in Kildalton College. I work at the Kildalton College location with my colleague Yvonne, Grania McMahon, who we might hear from a little bit later. It's a 3-year level 7 degree. There is a large component of work placement in year 2. And some of our students stay local, some of them will travel over Ireland to do their work placement, and some will go abroad. So we have a link with Ohio State University, and we have a lot of students who go to America using the Ohio program. When you graduate from the horticulture degree, you'll have at least 2 major streams of study done. So we have For instance, we have nursery stock, we have sustainable food production, we also have landscape design, we have lab skills for plant science, and we have another one which is sports turf. So when you actually look at the 4 major streams of study, you can get a better idea of the kind of diverse careers that are available. So I don't think we all totally, I suppose, appreciate the diversity of careers that is available. I would say that if you're coming into first year, we don't require you to have studied any science at Leaving Cert, or if you're a mature student. We're going to give you the basics of horticultural science, and we're going to give you the basic horticultural skills in first year. So you're not at any disadvantage having been out of school for a few years, or indeed having not taken any of the sciences. I think in third year then we have a few business modules, and the reason we have some business modules in the degree is that with a honours, with a level 7 degree, we hope that you will get to manager and supervisor level, I suppose a little bit quicker than if you have a level 6 in horticulture. So we do have a little bit of business in there. But again, we don't require you to have done any business training prior to joining the course.
Okay. I think that that is one thing that I wasn't aware of until recent years, the huge, vast array and varied careers that you can get after completing the horticulture degree, which is, so I might just ask then, if we just talk to Gráinne a minute, and if you just outline the involvement of Kildalton College and Teagasc in the programme and in its delivery.
Hi all, my name is Gráinne McMahon. So I'm assistant principal for horticulture in Kildalton College. So as Cara said, there's quite a variety of modules in the degree, from science to horticulture to business. So mainly the science and the business would be taught in WIT, and the horticulture modules would be delivered at Kildalton College. So similar to the agriculture course that Damien was talking about, we look at the core horticultural modules. So you're talking about attending Kildalton College probably 4 days a week in first year, 3 days a week in second year, and 2 days a week in third year. So it becomes more business as time goes on, but that is a huge advantage. You come out as a very rounded graduate. The type of modules that we teach in Kildalton College are quite practical. So you're talking about plant propagation, horticulture skills, plant knowledge, hort mechanization, building construction for horticulture. So lots of very practical modules where you're learning the theory and you're going out and you're physically doing the practical as well. So it gives you a good rounding. So, different people are learning different ways. So it gives you an opportunity to learn if you like the books, or if you like to physically do something to remember it as well.
That's great. Thanks, Gráinne. And I might just move to Yvonne now. And just one of the questions that did come in on the chat was, is the programme the same in Kildalton, Waterford, and also in the Botanic Gardens, obviously, because there's 2 locations. So you might cover that while you are discussing the programme that is run in the Botanic Gardens, Yvonne. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Orla. Yeah, both programs are the same. I'm just the point of contact for the students up in Dublin. So what I would say is that the business lectures travel up to the Botanic Gardens. So when you're a Botanic Gardens student, you will remain on that site. So you have the site in Ashtown and the Botanics, and that's where all your classes and your practicals are carried out. So the Teagasc staff, the same as down in Kildalton, deliver our horticulture core modules, and then WIT Business School lecturers deliver our business modules. So in the last year, those have been delivered online. I myself teach social and therapeutic horticulture to the third years, and I would have travelled up to the Botanic Gardens every Friday to deliver that. And I'm lucky to kind of teach in both locations. I teach biodiversity out in Kildalton as well, and soil science out in Kildalton as well in the lab there. So that's the way it's coordinated. And I would say, it's just, I'll start rambling. I'll pass it back to you, Orla. Thanks.
No problem. No problem at all. So I'm now just going to move to talk a little bit about ask Tom Kent, the programme leader, to talk a little bit about the forestry programme that we have here in WIT.
Yeah, thanks, Orla. So I'm Tom Kent. I'm the program leader of the Bachelor of Science in Forestry. Again, it's a 3-year level 7 degree program, and our program aims at basically producing working foresters and forest managers. We try to achieve that over our 3 years with a mix of practical, technical, and science-based modules. And again, like the other programs in second year, there's a semester of work placement. Our graduates tend to mainly stay in Ireland because the forest industry is growing in Ireland, and there's a very strong demand for graduate foresters. Mainly they work then in 3 main sectors in Ireland. One is with Coillte, the state forestry company, that's responsible for managing approximately about half the forest area in Ireland. The second stream then are working with private forest management companies. They work with private forest owners to either plant new forests, manage existing forests, harvest forests, and then re-establish those forests. And then the third stream work with the government, with the Department of Agriculture, mainly in the Forest Service.
Okay, great. And while you're talking there about kind of the potential and the jobs that graduates move on to, one of the questions that did come in, Tom, on the chat was somebody who said, I like to be outside. I don't want to work at a desk. And basically, I like the idea of forestry, but what will I do in a day? And I think what they're saying is what will I do in a day is in the job that they would do once they complete. Yeah, So
recently we did a survey of our graduates and asked them various questions about their careers and what they did after leaving WIT. One of the absolutely common features that all respondents said was that every day was different. That in forestry the work is different every day. One day it might be meeting a client out on site. The next day it may be discussing with an engineer about constructing a new forest road. The following day it may be meeting with an ecologist to discuss, putting in measures to protect wildlife. So each day is different because basically each forest is different. The jobs that have to be done at any particular time, will vary. And it's the role of the forest manager basically to, carry out all of those things and then bring in specialists where they're required. So I guess every day is different is maybe the short answer. Certainly a lot of time is expected, I guess. It's expected that a working forester will spend a lot of time outside. Certainly a lot of time is spent on the road. Most foresters, will be based in a particular part of the country, but may travel extensively. Sometimes, it may be multiple counties, or sometimes nationally. Obviously, sometimes some foresters also work internationally. But basically, a lot of time is spent on the road getting to sites. And generally speaking, you're working in different locations, quite frequently. You're transferring between locations quite frequently. So, yeah, a lot of outdoor work. Unfortunately, every now and again, yes, you do have to come back to the desk, even to write up a report or view emails. That seems to be a common feature.
Great. So thanks a million, Tom. So who I'd like to move next is just maybe to talk a little minute to Ian. So Ian, you're on the forestry program, and you might just talk a little bit about your experience of it, like what drew you to forestry, and is the course meeting your expectations, and what you think you might go on to do once you're finished?
Yeah, just like the question asked there, my problem with other courses was I didn't want to be stuck at a desk the whole time. So the forestry course really appealed to me in that I think the first semester of first year we had 2 weeks out on site, or sorry, 2 days a week out on site, 2 days a week lectures, and then the 5th day spent out in Kildalton. So there was all 3 days hands-on, which was very enjoyable. As regards the course living up to my expectations, yeah, it's very, very nice getting to do all the hands-on and learning the practical skills when you're doing something when you're learning something in a lecture. For the way I learn anyway, it half goes in, but then when I get to go out and actually do it hands-on, I know exactly what I'm doing then. Another thing about the course is there's normally small enough numbers, so there's only 15 people in the course. So it didn't take long to get to know everyone, and everyone who has an interest in forestry mightn't share all common interests, but we have something in common anyway. We're all similar enough.
Great. Thanks a million, Ian.
No problem.
I just want to ask, I'm going to now move to the other students that we have here, but first, one of the questions that did come in on the chat was, do you have any mature students in horticulture? Which I know indeed you do. But maybe if one of the people from horticulture might also maybe talk a little bit about the 10 credit modules, where people, often mature students, just want to come on and do maybe a smaller amount rather than a full program. So I know that we have many students, mature students on the program. So you might talk about the mature students on the program and that option of looking at the 10 credits, which is more an upskilling. But if one of you want to discuss that.
Yeah, sure. I'll take that, Orla.
Okay.
We have many mature students on the horticulture course in both locations. And I think the reason for that is horticulture tends to appeal to people after their first career. You know, they've had a chance to do a bit of research. They realize that there's actually a lot of good, fulfilling careers out there in horticulture. And they realize that they want to do what they love, which is gardening and creating landscapes and maintaining landscapes and designing landscapes. So yes, we have a load of mature students every year. I'm working for WIT 7 years, and I've never seen a class with no mature students in it. So you will never be on your own, okay, for sure. We take, obviously, we welcome mature students into first year via the CAO. Mature students can also join by advanced entry after they've done a level 5 or a level 6 and a level 6 in horticulture. And if you wouldn't be, maybe you're a mature student, you want to upscale, but you don't want to join the course full time, you can join one of those major modules. So we have level 7 certificates in nursery stock, sustainable food, landscape design, and also sports turf. So if you have a level 6 advanced horticulture certificate, you're eligible for entry to that. And that will be in the first semester. So it'll be between September and Christmas, and you'll have a level 7 cert when you're finished that module. And you'll be, learning alongside our full-time students who are taking those modules.
Okay, great. Thank you, Cara. Now I'd like to I'd like to move to Amy. Amy Callback. She is one of the students on the BSc in Agricultural Science. And Amy, I suppose what drew you to the Agricultural Science degree program? Also, why WIT?
So yeah, I'm doing the Agricultural Science course, the level 8 course. And I suppose I'm from Kilkenny, so Waterford is quite close to me. But I knew a lot of people who had done the course, and originally everyone would think, oh, well, we'll go to Dublin. Dublin is the best. But one thing about the course that drew me was everyone would tell me that it's much more hands-on. It's very, everyone's very close with each other. You're close with the lecturers. On a kind of a personal level, you're able to kind of have fun with them. But what I was saying was in second year, of course, more so, we're in Kildalton three days a week, and we're out and we're injecting animals and we're dosing animals, we're dehorning calves. There's a stage where we were doing lambing duty, so we were out kind of 5 hours at night, and we were all lambing. And I know, talking to my friends who are in different colleges, and they were saying, oh, I'm so jealous of that. Like, we don't have that at all, because because the courses are just much bigger, there's more people, and they can't do that. But they would always definitely say that, and that is definitely one thing that drew me to go into WIT.
Great, thank you, Amy. And now, Niall, if I just ask you, you are on the BSc in Agriculture. So this is a level 7 degree, as I said before, but you can go on to do the level 8. And I suppose one of the questions that's come through in the chat that you might be able to answer is, somebody said, my father's a farmer. I'm not ready to stay at home farming yet, but what agricultural course do you think that I should do? And they're saying that they're doing agricultural science indeed, you know, in school, but they're kind of wondering what course that they should go on and do.
Well, currently I'm in the land management course. I graduated from the BSc in agriculture last year.
Great.
And decided to go on and do the land management course in agriculture this year. But I was kind of in the same boat as that question that came in there. I wasn't ready to go home farming. I want to spend a couple of years out working in the industry maybe. And I looked at all the agriculture courses, and I always had my heart set on doing an ag course. And the agriculture course, the level 7 in WIT, really appealed to me due to the mix of theory and practical. And as Damien said there at the start, I think in first year, it's either 3.5 days, I think, in Kildalton. And similar to the ag science course, you're out, you're dosing calves, you're dehorning calves, you're very practical and hands-on experience, and you learn all the skills you need if you do want to go home and farm. But then as the course progresses on during the year, you get the theory side of it more so in second and third year, which really allows, like, if you do want to go out and work in the agribusiness sector or the advisory sector, it really helps you to go on with the theory practical elements behind you. You can really go on and go into that industry if you want to.
Great, thanks very much, Niall. I suppose I'd just like to come back now to Michael Breen and possibly to Damien, and I suppose that is one of the key questions that we do get asked at our open days. What is the difference between the ag science and the agriculture degree? And basically, I suppose, what is the difference in the program, and therefore what is the difference in the graduates and what they go on to do?
Okay, Orla, yeah. I suppose initially both programs started out quite different in that the ag science program focused primarily on science in year 1. So your modules in first year are common to students that are studying other science programs. Whereas, as Niall mentioned and Damien mentioned earlier, the level 7 agriculture students will spend a lot of time in Kildalton in year 1. But as the years go on, the two programs become less disparate and they overlap a lot more. So by the time some of the level 7 ag students have gone on to do their level 8 and the level 8 ag science students reach 4th year, they're studying a lot of modules, the common modules, and they're doing a lot of the same stuff. The big difference, I suppose, in terms of the programs is that science content. So the agriculture science students still do some science, but not to the same extent as the ag science students. And I suppose that means in certain situations, certain jobs where, you know, working in a lab, etc., the ag science student would be better suited or you know, have more skills in that area. But there are many opportunities that both students from the level 8 land management and level 8 ag science would be equally qualified to apply for, and often they'll be going for the same jobs. So we've lots of graduates from both programs in similar roles and working for companies, the same company, etc. So for ahead, Jim.
Yeah, and just to also, if a potential student has come and they're saying, I haven't done science before, or indeed whatever bit of science I have done, I actually don't like it. What would your advice to them be?
Yeah, I suppose that this is, as well as the question you just asked, this is the next one that's the most common. We would always say that the science in first year in ag science is taught on an introductory basis. It's taught on the basis that you haven't done it before. Most students will have done ag science, some will have done biology, but a lot won't have done the chemistry nor the physics. But we have introductory modules, we have tutorials, we have a first year support scheme. So, you know, if you talk to Amy, I can't sit here and say, oh, the students loved doing the science in first year, but the bottom line is they the vast majority will pass it, they'll get through it. And it's not until they go on later into the degree and maybe until they graduate, they realize, well, why we had to do physics and chemistry and biology, etc. So I don't know, Amy might be good there to give her experience of it from a student's perspective.
Yeah, no, when I went in first, it was quite tough, to be honest. I found chemistry okay, I found maths quite okay, but I did struggle with physics. And what there was there for us was there was, as Michael was saying, there was support groups. So I got into doing a support group, and there was 5 of us, and it was on a Tuesday evening, I think, from maybe 5 to 7, and that really helped me. So then I was fine. When I went into second semester, we did physics for scientists, and I had the basic understanding, and I knew I was fine. But then again, if I was struggling in second semester, there was still a support group there for me if I did need it. So yeah, that was very good.
Great, thank you, Amy and Michael. And I might just ask Damien now, just in relation to Kildalton College, if you could maybe give a feel of Kildalton College. I suppose the one thing I would say is that all of the people delivering on the programme from Kildalton College, and indeed in WIT, a lot of them are practitioners in agriculture. So I think that that's very important and keeps the programme very relevant. And the other thing, maybe, Damien, you might talk a little bit about the placement element, because it is a big thing that draws the students to the programme to get there's such exciting opportunities in relation to the placement.
Yeah, so I suppose look at some of my colleagues would be graduates from the level 8 land management, and I have colleagues that are graduates from the level 8 ag science degree in WIT. So they're both very well-rounded courses, and I suppose in terms of the opportunities for graduates, there's probably not a lot of difference between either streams. Kildalton, we're the biggest ag college in the country. We're in Piltown in South County Kilkenny. We're farming about 180 hectares. So it's about 25 kilometres from WIT. There is a bus that travels in and out from WIT to Kildalton for students. On the farm, we have 120 spring calving dairy herd. We have 60 sucklers. We have a calf to beef system. We have a mid-season lamb flock. We have an arable enterprise with up to 9 crops. Grania mentioned the horticultural department as well. And we pride ourselves in the delivery of skills. And I suppose what you would find when you talk to a lot of graduates or people that interview a lot of graduates, they would also always say that the WIT graduates are very, very practical based. And that's because of the skills that are delivered, that we deliver in Kildalton as part of the degree programme. I suppose moving on to the placement, if you're doing the agriculture programme, there's a 12-week placement in year 2. And if you're doing the ag science programme, it's a 15-week placement, and that's in year 3 in ag science. If you're doing ag science, you have the choice to do either industrial placement or do farm placement. Whereas if you're doing the agriculture programme, the only option is to do farm placement. So for farm placement, that's all organised through Teagasc. We have 1,000 host farmers around the country, and we will set people up on those farms. So it's about practicing what you're learning in college and maybe learning some more new skills on farm as well. And as Cara said, there is opportunities to travel abroad. We'd have a lot of students, particularly maybe some of the ag science students, would go to New Zealand every year. So New Zealand is renowned for dairying, and you can learn lots of new skills and see different things there. But we also have links with the Ohio State program if people want to travel to the US. But we have some really top class farmers as well in Ireland, where people can go and learn on farm skills as well. And I think that's one of the things that students really love, is the placement aspect of the course as well.
Great. And just one question that has come in on the chat there, Damien. Somebody has asked, is the agricultural course suitable for someone who wants to follow on in a career in dairy science?
Yeah, absolutely. So they're as part of I suppose the course, there's a lot of modules in terms of dairy production. There's lots of modules in terms of animal breeding. There's modules there in terms of grassland. So yes, if you're interested in dairy science, that is definitely an option for you. but even the ag science one as well would be very relevant as well.
Great, thanks a million. So ladies, I have many questions in relation to the horticulture programme. One of the questions is, are there more mature students than young students on the horticulture course? The other question is also in relation to the mature students, and it says, what do the more mature students go on to do afterwards? You know, do they have a particular career that they tend to go on to? And then just to give you the other question that did come in as well is, what is the pros and cons of doing a level 6 or just doing the level 5 and going straight into the level 7 in Hort? So I suppose what they're asking there is, should somebody, what is the difference if I go into the WIT level 7 program, or if I decide to go through the route of the FETAC route doing level 5 and level 6 and then progressing on to the level 7? So I know there's a load of questions, but for the last one, I might ask Grania, because Grania, you're in Kildalton College and involved indeed with the FETAC program. So can you see any advantages or disadvantages, you know, the two different routes, if you might talk about that?
Yeah, so there are plenty of options on how you can get into the degree. So some people just go straight in after school through the CEO system and start from there in first year in the Bachelor of Science in Horticulture. Some people will do a level 5 certificate in horticulture in a college like Kildalton College, and they get, you know, they're doing a 1-year course at level 5, getting to know the basics, the fundamentals, and building up their skills. And some people use their level 5 results then to go in through the CEO system and then to apply to WIT for the degree program. Other people might do the level 5 and then decide to do a level 6 course. So a level 6 would be an advanced certificate in horticulture, whereby you're specializing in an area, one of the 4 streams of horticulture, in food production, which is fruit and veg, nursery and garden centre, and the landscape design and building of gardens, or the sports turf end. So they're picking an area to go into in level 6. They complete about 16 weeks work experience and 16 weeks in the college for that. And it's a very practical course, the level 6 as well. And then you can, when you've completed both the level 5 and 6, as Cara said, you can apply for advanced transfer into the degree program. What's the right route? What's the wrong route? It's up to every individual. Everyone has a different route to go in life, and there's none of us can tell you what route you should go. It's what suits you in your life and what you want to do. Definitely, if you're thinking of doing it, come and talk to us and have a chat and where you're coming from, and we can give you guidance. But there's no right and there's no wrong. You'll find, especially, I see a lot of questions about mature students. We all come into this from different situations and different routes and different backgrounds. So no right, no wrong. And once you're doing horticulture, you're doing the right thing as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, have a chat with us.
Yep. Okay. And I suppose in relation to that, what would I know it varies each year, but what do you think the percentage of mature students would be across the program?
Bearing in mind that a mature student is anyone over 23.
Yeah.
So this is not a group of people that are in their 50s and 60s necessarily. We have students from 17 years of age up to their 60s.
Okay.
I'm trying to think, this year we would have quite a good, I think the majority, Cara, in first year in the Kildalton campus is mainly younger students. There are a couple of mature, whereas other years you might have 50-50. It goes up, it goes down, and it just depends on the year. Generally, it wouldn't go over, in Kildalton, I can't speak for the botanics, but in Kildalton, it wouldn't go over 50% mature students.
Okay. And I imagine that the career paths, as we have said before, are so varied and vast with the horticulture that there is no particular area that mature students tend to go on to that other students don't go on to. But one of the things that was asked is, how has COVID affected the delivery of the course, and how do you think that, you know, anticipate that things will be over the next few years, particularly in horticulture? And that's in the same question of COVID. I'm not too sure whether they're asking that in relation to COVID or not, but if one of you would like to discuss that from horticulture?
I'm wondering if it's how will things be in horticulture in the next few years is the industry.
Yeah.
And I know that the horticulture industry is thriving out there at the minute. I know that we have a commercial nursery. We have the largest horticulture education facility in Kildalton College in the country. And we have a large commercial nursery. And we're looking at a situation where we're probably sold out of plants, about 30,000 plants in the next month or so. Plants are selling that well. I know the landscapers are thriving out there. A lot of people are looking at, spending time at home now and doing up their garden. I was talking to a student the other day who works in a garden centre part-time, and she said that the garden centre she worked in is having their busiest year now. This is probably controversial on St. Paddy's Day that they've had since 2012.
Okay.
There's a lot of interest. People are very conscious about their food and where their food is coming. So the food industry is thriving, and there's a lot of interest in locally sourced, reduced pesticide, reduced air miles, reducing your carbon footprint. So the horticulture industry out there, I am very positive about the future of it. I know, looking at jobs, we generally send graduates jobs out when we see them coming in, and I've no bother sending emails out to students with jobs at the minute because there's loads of jobs out there.
Great, thank you, Gráinne. Now I just want to talk a little bit to Tom. One of the questions that came in here was, can I do research in forestry, which is quite aptly been directed at you, Tom, being involved in forest researcher. And he says, if I want to be a lecturer, say, because I like teaching, but also forestry. So I suppose just to answer, because we do have a lot of research ongoing in the department in forestry, but also I think it would be important at this stage for you to also outline the huge amount of jobs that are out there in forestry at the moment, because I know that it is a thriving industry and they really need a huge increase in forestry graduates in order to fill these roles. So first of all, maybe just to talk a little bit about the research, and then maybe to talk a little bit about the various industries out there that are really looking for foresters, Tom.
Yeah, sure, Orla. So just regarding research, research is sort of central to forestry because increasingly we find that we need to learn more and more about the role of trees and forests in the environment, their role in climate change, and particularly mitigation of climate change, but also in terms of biodiversity, human health, and biomaterials. In other words, alternative materials to particularly plastics. Internationally and also in Ireland, research is a kind of a core role in forestry, and there's a very active kind of career path and research kind of program to facilitate somebody to develop a career in that area. The starting point is, generally speaking, though, getting your undergraduate degree first, and then based on, I suppose, an undergraduate degree basically gives you a little insight into the diversity of areas that are active research areas. And then based on that, then you can subsequently maybe identify an area that you've got a particularly strong interest in, and take your research in that direction. And then, generally you do your honors degree and then register for a PhD and complete your PhD, and from then on it's you're a postdoctoral researcher and develop a career as a research scientist. Particularly Teagasc in Ireland have a strong group working in forest research. Also the universities, ourselves, and the Department of Agriculture itself. But research is also typically carried out collaboratively and internationally. So the research community works very well together on a global basis. And again, it's part and parcel of a research career to work abroad also and collaborate with colleagues abroad.
Just sorry, Tom.
Yeah.
I just want to come in here to answer a few questions because I'm being told we've got 2 or 3 minutes. I suppose it's fair to say that there is a vast amount of the forest industry is really looking for forest graduates. So I suppose if people are, first of all, obviously you should come onto the forestry program if you have a love for forestry and you think that you would have an interest in that. But I suppose it's important to also say that it is a thriving industry at the moment. So you'd be guaranteed to get great employment and a varied employment there. And I can see Ian is nodding away, but I just want to answer 1 or 2 questions that are coming directly in, which is, can you become a post-primary school teacher after doing the level 7 degree in agriculture? And what we would say to that is basically that you must have a level 8 degree to go on and do a postgraduate in education in order to teach at 2nd level. But yes, once you've completed all of the level 8 degrees, and the rules and regulations which are governed for this are changing in 2023, which would be the graduates coming out now, to actually make what you can teach at post-primary actually a lot more flexible. And more down to the actual schools themselves. And maybe Amy, you could answer this. Are there many girls studying agriculture or ag science? Well, we know of one girl who's studying it anyway. So
yeah, definitely. In my year, there's definitely more boys than girls doing the course. But 2 years below me, I think it was 50-50. I'm not sure, Michael, if you know.
Yeah, yeah, spot on me. Yeah, typically it's about a third, 2/3 girls to boys, but as Amy said, I think it was 2020 in the entry there that there was a 50-50 split, which was excellent to see. So,
okay. And what would you say is the best? People are saying what's different about the ag science program in WIT rather than other colleges? I think that you've already answered that, Amy, because you've talked about the hands-on experience that you get, but maybe Michael, you might be able to say as the program leader, what distinguishes the ag science program in WIT?
Yeah, well, I think Amy's mentioned it, and Damien as well. I think it's Kildalton is fantastic for us in terms of the hands-on experience. So I would, be very confident and stand up and say that you're not going to get that elsewhere in the country. As well as that, I think placement is excellent for us. But industrial or farm placement, that's a big standout. And I just think the broad range of subjects that you're going to get the thought in is very, very good, from the science and agriculture and business and etc.
Okay, and also I just wanted to say, as Cara has pointed out, that we do have a mature student taster day this Wednesday, so there was a lot of interest in relation to mature students and the horticulture program. So, and also there are videos on the channel also that you can actually look at, to make sure that you can get an idea of the programs. So Ian, let's hear from you. Why WIT? Not just forestry, why WIT?
Well, it was again, when I was looking at forestry, you could do it in Dublin, but it was more lecture based rather than practical based, which, like I said earlier, that was a huge selling point for me. I had no other connection or reason to go to Waterford. I'm from Clare originally, but I've no regrets at all after coming here so far. I've landed on my feet. I'm very, very happy with the college and the city.
Great, thank you very much. And we'll leave the final note to our student Niall, who's on the agriculture program. So what would you say would have been, the highlight of your 4 years in WIT, that you've had your program here going from your level 7 and then on to the level 8?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, God, there's loads of highlights. I suppose the placement that I did in year 2 in the agriculture course is a big highlight for me. I got to learn so much. I went to a dairy farm in Kilkenny, and I learned so much about the dairy sector because I'm not from a dairy sector so that placement really broadened my knowledge into the dairy sector, and I learned so much again about animal husbandry, nutrition, and then all the field trips as well in our course, especially this year now in the land management course. Although they're virtual field trips, we've had numerous field trips throughout the year, and like WIT have done an excellent job at providing them field trips virtually. And over the years, we did go out to different sites and I thought they were super. They were really interesting, really informative. and you just got such a broad range of knowledge from those different sectors. There were some bits from.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Niall. So I think with Olive coming on, it means that we've gone over time. So what I'd just like to thank all of the staff and the students for coming on just to talk about our programs. It's hugely appreciated. And also to thank Damien and Grania from Teagasc Kildalton College for joining us and, you know, working with us over the years to deliver the programs which we think people are saying, why WIT? Well, we think that, you know, we are distinguished in, you know, having this hands-on programs and obviously having great links in with the industry and ensuring, as we say, that the graduates are work ready once they finish. So I'd like to thank you all. And out of those videos, they continue to be on the channel or, yep.
Yeah, just thanks everybody. This was a brilliant chat. We're running over. I'd say we could do another hour easily from the questions that are coming in. So that's excellent. Just to say, we are always online. I said it at the start, but if you go onto the course pages, you can chat to your course leader, ask them a question, or ask WIT at any stage, and the team are always online to answer your questions. So that's a super facility after this event. The videos are here. This is open.wit.ie, and we'll also move this talk and all the other videos are on ask.wit, and that's online all of the time, and the majority of them are attached to the course pages as well. So there's lots of really good information, but we're always here, we're always open. We'll be running some more discipline days in May and June for people, so we'll be writing out and having those on our website as well. So there's lots happening in WIT, and there'll be lots more opportunity hopefully to talk to our lovely lecturers and maybe not so much the students, but certainly our lecturers. So thank you all for taking part today, and I'm going to have to ask you to go, I'm afraid, because we're done for the day.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
See ya.